They say truth is the first casualty of war. But who defines what's true? The duty of every soldier is to protect the innocent, and sometimes that means preserving the lie of good and evil, that war isn't just natural selection played out on a grand scale.
What's up, motherfuckers? It has been a while. Good to see some of you. I see we got Shogun, we got Real Names Not Given. Holy Blade stopped by. Good to see you, dude. As always. Yeah, it has been a while. There's Jay Tahoe. That's a name I haven't seen in a real long while. Rockley's here. Man. I'm glad that there's still people that, haven't forgotten about me, because it's been quite a while. Real life just starts, creeping up on you sometimes, and you have to focus on that. And that's what I've been doing, trying to focus on real life. I had some other funny projects going on, but, mostly is real life shit. And I'm still working on that. But George Bruno, what's going on, man? good to see you. Yeah, but real life takes precedence. You can't be, goofing off on stuff that doesn't matter as much. So that has been what I was up to. Um, we're gonna get to the first little quick tidbit of what I wanted to talk about. It won't be long, and then we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about because I've been gone for a while and everybody's been up to different things. So, and I'm interested to hear about what you guys have been up to. So, I might even open it up to my Discord if you guys want to, jump on the show here in a few minutes. You're welcome to do so. I am not running a StreamYard. This is just strictly going to be OBS and Discord. So, something came across my desk a few days ago, and it caught my interest because I tried to see if I could find an official source on this, and which I didn't. And let's show you guys what I'm talking about. All right, so this little guy here, the FBI apparently thinks that, based in Red Pill is some sort of terrorist slang. You may or may not have heard of this, but apparently this came out on the 10th of April, so like 4 days ago. Kind of interesting. And I know that I have been personally a harsh critic on the black pill, but this most of this FBI for official use only guide or whatever is definitely geared towards the black pill guys. The incel dudes. It says the word incel like countless times on this motherfucker, but looking at some of the language on here, I'm kind of baffled. Because it's a very long-winded document. Let's see. I think I grabbed the wrong. Yeah, I grabbed the wrong one. Highlight this one. All right, so it has lists notable criminal acts, and there's like maybe 3 on here. So someone took the time to write this FBI violent extremist brief, and they can only name like a couple of attacks at all. So, and it even says somewhere on here that most of the incel people aren't a threat. So if they're not a threat, then why the fuck did you write a brief about them? And I have to agree. I mean, the black pill guys, most of them just mind their own business. As much as like you guys think some of you guys might think I just really dislike black pill guys or whatever. I disagree with their philosophy, but I don't hate them at all. And I don't think that they need to be, targeted by the FBI or anything, So they're, obviously this is the opener. It describes, the overview, targets and tactics, which is, there doesn't seem to be a lot of tactics involved here. These people, they're already mentally ill. What do you want? Like mentally ill people doing things that mentally ill people do, and we're talking extreme. We're not talking to like, sort of like a, someone who's bipolar is probably not going to be doing this. If they're homicidal, they're homicidal. So that's what I never understood about this stuff. But if you guys want to look this up on your own, I actually found this document. I opened up a private browser and turned my VPN on just to go to the site so I could download this picture because I felt filthy being there, to be quite honest with you. But like I said, they only name a couple of attacks at all, period. Obviously You know, the Elliot Rodger kid, Alec Manassian, and some other guy. I've never heard of that motherfucker. Yoga Studio. I don't even remember hearing about that one. Anyways, let's go to page 2. This is where it gets kind of fun. All right, sorry, I'm going to check out chat real quick. They say there's been 5 since 2014. Okay. So we're at 2023 and there's been 5 in what, 9 years? Meanwhile, you know, the gangs, the inner city gangs are still doing their thing. You know, just criminals all over the place, and they care about guys that are pretty well harmless. All right, so this is amusing. The key terms and shit, and they're not entirely accurate, but it's kind of funny. I wonder who did the research for this. Amazing hero. No, it's that's a 4chan term. And it's not AM, it's AN, an hero, and it's usually someone who's an absolute freak show. They got Supreme Gentleman is the term they typically use for, yeah, I think they're accurate on that. So someone did okay research on here. But, Jesus. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just kind of flabbergasted that someone took the time to write this and send it around the FBI. And apparently, I tried to find this on as an official source, like from the FBI's website itself, and nothing comes up. There are a bunch of articles speaking about this, though. It's just kind of, it's just interesting. They got a lot of the terms. I just now found out what a foid was pretty recently, or a femoid. I found that out on Twitter. So, but I've been away, but I've never heard that term before until very, very recently. They kind of are throwing red pill and black pill into the same boat here. I don't know. I mean, society is corrupt, by the way. I'm glad they mentioned that, but they're not specific. You know, we're talking about gynocentrism here. But yeah, if you guys want that, you know what I'll do? I'll put this on like I'll try to make a link for this if you guys want to take a look at it yourselves. I think I'm about done talking about it. I just wanted to bring it to y'all's attention if you didn't know about it. It's very interesting. So we're gonna take that down, and now we're just gonna shoot the shit for a few, see what's going on. So Shogun, you still here? Are you busy, or what's everyone been up to in all this time? I will outright tell you, I have been studying for a tech certification, but then other stuff happened and my priorities have to change, and so kind of putting that on the back burner. I may or may not take the certification exam soon, if things start going better. Okay, I might have seen that DM, Shogun, but it might have. Let me see what you said. Oh yeah, the shotgun. Yes, I actually saw that that very same shotgun, I think, on Palmetto State Armory's website. That's the semi-auto. Let me take a look. What's the one I'm thinking? Oh, that's not the one I'm thinking. Oh no. Also almost got like a scar stock on it. It's very okay. That's interesting. That is a different type of shotgun. The one I was thinking was like it's like a AK-47 style shotgun, like a an alternative to like a Russian. Like a, right. That's pretty cool. I'm glad you showed me that. I'm not a big shotgun guy, as you know, but that is cool and it's really cheap. 400 bones for that thing. It's the Scar shotgun. Okay. All right. Yeah, I've been paying a lot. Dude, I mean, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if someone gave that to me. Like, hey, here's a Scar shotgun. I'd be like, hell yes. I've been paying attention to the AR pistol, you know, debacle that they got going on. It's pretty ridiculous. I'm hoping that the lawsuits will handle that business, but you never know. The courts are funny sometimes. And there's been so much shit. Like I do check Twitter, like my Twitter, my Red Pill Twitter stuff. I kind of see, what's going on. There has been like a massive like shift in the manosphere space uh recently since I've been away. I heard that knucklehead John Anthony Lifestyle got basically someone actually with a real show let him on their show. Like it's crazy as fuck. Like what's the we're in bizarro world. I thought it was clown world before, but someone legitimized that guy, as the man said. Like what? All right, whatever. If you guys hadn't seen it before, Rollo Tomasi was on Dr. Phil, kind of representing, you know. And from what he said, though, they were trying to treat him as if he was an Andrew Tate stand-in, which is pretty fucked up. But they got to try to find somebody to demonize, right? I guess Andrew Tate wasn't interested, or I can't remember if that was the time he was locked up or what. But from what I heard, that dude's out. Like I said, I'm out of the loop. Drop something. I'm out of the loop, y'all. So, if you want to tell me what I missed, I'd be happy to hear about it. It seems like a blanket label. Anyone in red pill or black pill is an extremist. It could be a club to shame people into submission. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like they're trying to put people who take the red pill in the same boat as guys who can't get laid. Although, when it comes to the MGTOW thing, yeah, I mean, there is definitely, it mentions on that paper that there's crossover between incels and MGTOW, and I mean, it's almost like these guys watch my video or something. They also mentioned like guys in the military, being a part of this movement, so maybe they have watched my shit. But unrelated, 8.6 blackout piqued my interest. Well, I don't know what the fuck 8.6 blackout is, but I want to know now. I'm going to look that up. Ah, AR-10. Sounds like another thing you can convert an AR-10 into. So it's not just Creedmoor anymore. Interesting. Messenger Rising made a video a couple weeks back on the takeover of MGTOW by Sims. Well, yeah, I mean, and there's a bunch of, I don't care if a woman wants to be in the manosphere. It's not no skin off my back. I just hope the guys, I mean, you can be. I'm friend. I don't hate women, so I mean, I don't know why some people think that you have to hate women to be in the manosphere. It's very strange. Um, I don't think you should. Again, the whole reason for taking the red pill is so you don't hate them. So, I'm lost on that one. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely some content creators, females in the space that I don't trust by any any margin. That pearly things is like top of the list. Yeah, I mean, it should stay a pretty male space in my opinion. Us dudes need a place to like hang out. Red Pill Rage is a long gone stage for me. I'm beyond the point of caring anymore. Yeah. Well, see, you remember some of you guys were monkey business, you know, people. So you remember anytime a female would come in towards the darker days of that server, some people would start screeching. Just be secure with yourself. Who cares? But that's the darker side of MGTOW. Yeah, I am loosely aware of what Lazarus is up to. He has said some pretty interesting things, but I don't want to say too much because then people are going to assume that I know a lot. There's some drama involving him that I don't want to be any part of, and people might assume that I am just because I bring his name up. So, yes, you are correct. Negative attention is still attention. Yep, the Spurg Tower getting old. Yeah. Yeah, and that server was becoming really hard to mod just by how spurgy it was becoming. I mean, I had a lot of good times in that server. I'm barely on Discord these days, but I remember the days when I spent more time on that shit. And there were definitely good times were had. And you guys wanna jump up, or are you busy? So if you wanna jump on, then we'll take it to the okay. Well, I'm gonna jump in to my Discord server, and we're gonna go into just the general chat for the time being. And hopefully this won't create an issue. Real name is not given. It's all good, man. We just shooting the shit, man. I promised that I was going to do a show stream this week, and here I am. I try to keep my word whenever I give it. I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to talk about, but I did kind of want to talk about that article when it came out. Let's see here.
All right. Well, here I am.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, hey, Broccoli.
Is Broccoli in here too? Oh yeah, he's on mute though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got streamer mode turned on, so I didn't hear you guys join the chat. So what you been up to, Shogun?
Well, been up to the usual stuff. Trying to do, essentially keep my head above water, learn what I can, keep my head down, yet keep my head up at the same time, if you know what I mean.
Right. Stay out of
course.
trouble.
Right. Both on and offline.
You know it,
But
man.
yeah, but fortunately, it seems like a lot of the drama has died down, and it seems like people don't really pay me as much attention as they used to. So, in some ways, that's a good thing.
Right. They're always looking for bigger fish, I guess.
Yep.
That's why I'm glad.
I'm pretty much a small fry. So,
Exactly. Same here. And that's the way I prefer it.
yep.
I'm trying to stay out of the drama on every sphere I happen to be adjacent to. I just ain't got time for that shit. That's why Guilty Grift, as fun as that would be, it's kind of on the back burner as well, along with a lot of other things. So yeah, it might be a while before the new episodes come out. And I had done some prep. I was creating some graphics and collecting some music and sound effects and stuff like that. But JR, what up, man? Good to see you. Rock on, man. But yeah, God, and guys, again, I'm sorry I didn't. I love doing the April Fool's shits. I was hoping to keep the streak alive, but I just could not. I just did not have time or motivation to do an April Fool this year. And I just didn't. Normally, throughout the year, I'm like coming up with ideas, and they just come to me, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should do this, and then I bring it to life before April Fools. It's just fun. Gotta have some humor, man. Laughter is good for the soul, and all that.
That it is.
All that.
I think it's gotten a bit difficult to be humorous these days, given that it's now about to be illegal.
Right, the way things are going, yeah. Yeah, I always find like I said, I have a twisted sense of humor. People wouldn't understand it, but that's that's what you develop when you could die any day. So it's just a part of it. Yeah, JR, I've been good. I hope you've been well as well. I'm just trying to make the best of it. Shit happens and you roll with the punches and keep going. That is life.
That it is.
So, Broccoli, what have you been up to these days?
Not too much. Just finally took a little bit of a break from being on the road so much, but
Uh-oh. Almost sounds like you're a truck driver.
No, I was just, traveling around the country, going to different events and stuff.
God, I would love to do that. Be quite honest.
Yeah, Burning Man was kind of crappy.
You didn't see APOC there, did you? I think he said he didn't get to go.
He didn't go.
Yeah. I need to call him up again soon, very soon. I did hang out with the plumber last weekend.
Okay, he doing all right?
Yeah, he's doing real good.
Oh, that's good. Awesome.
Yeah, that was a good time. I wish he could have stayed another day, but people got shit to do, so.
Oh, he came out to visit you?
Yeah, he came out to visit me in my neck of the woods.
Oh, nice.
So that was fun.
Nice.
He's still drinking terrible beer?
I don't think I saw him drink much of anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I didn't see him drink beer or whiskey or nothing. So he's rocking the cowboy look though.
Okay.
He looks like he's looking like some kind of country singer or an oil tycoon or something.
Heh.
But it was good times, good times.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like meeting people from YouTube. I'm not afraid to do it. Never have been.
Same.
That's right, because you and I have met before.
Yep. It's been a while.
It has been quite a while. Chat died real quick. So you
Oh,
guys
I'm here.
so gravy, man. You guys got anything, any topics you want to bring up you think might be interesting to discuss?
Well, lately I haven't been watching nearly as many things because every so often you get that thought that clicks in your head. Your desire to stay informed conflicts with your desire to stay sane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Although the main thing I've been keeping a watchful eye on are the recent anti-gun laws that are being passed or around the country, but I didn't want to suddenly just make the stream all about guns if you had something else in mind to talk about.
Oh no, this is a whatever you feel like talking about. I'll talk about guns all fucking day. I'm the same. I've been watching videos here and there about the AR pistol thing, the brace bullshit that the ATF's trying to conjure up.
Yep.
All right, George. I will. I may take you up on that one day. I like free steak, so yeah.
And now the Washington State has just passed, or I know the governor is going to sign it. Basically, passed the worst assault weapon ban of any state. And when Washington wants to ban something, not only will they ban that weapon, they will ban the parts to it. So you can't get parts shipped there. And they've been doing that since '94, so this doesn't surprise me at all. Although, because there was a time where Washington used to be a great state when it came to guns. It was legal to build your own guns. You didn't have any restrictions there, but that didn't happen until the state flipped blue in '92. Then 2 years in, I think that was probably when it was either before the governor left or when they got the new governor. I'm not sure. I just know I wasn't there at the time. But basically, she wanted to ban most NFA items outside of grenade launchers. Like suppressors were banned because, they make guns quiet, pa-chew, and makes murders easier, and ban machine guns because those are super dangerous. And then short-barreled rifles and short-barreled shotguns because those are easily concealable. And that's just been a law ever since. I mean, they overturned the short-barrel rifle law, but now that's pretty much useless because pretty much all semi-automatic weapons there are banned and parts. Because even like your standard Glock is considered an assault weapon over there.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
I've pretty much written off the entire West Coast. It's just it's been taken over by commie scums.
Well, the thing about the West Coast is that, like California is just as bad as everyone has said it is because it's pretty much everywhere you look. There's more and more gun control, and it's like a good significant amount of counties that are blue. So California is just hopeless. Washington, it's getting there because now you have at least a third of the counties that are blue, maybe a fourth, because typically you're stuck with places like Seattle and Tacoma always voting blue, but in Washington, then you have Bellingham, you have in the east, I believe Spokane was blue. I can't remember if it was blue this year or not, but it was it was the peninsula. Parts of the peninsula was blue too. So yeah, they're kind of hopelessly Democrat at this point. But Oregon is a different story. Now, the situation with Oregon is very often overlooked because typically when you think of Oregon, you're thinking of Portland. That by far does not represent the majority of the state. Now, the only you only have 2 blue strongholds right now, and we managed to flip 2 of them red. So it's Portland, home of the other white meat, and then Eugene. I have to call it EU as an EU because of all the leftism in Eugene. Then Salem, that was flipped red, and Medford was also flipped red. That's a red county now. So I mean, yeah, I live in Oregon now because I had to get out of Washington. The authoritarianism there has gotten insane, and I just got tired of it. So I couldn't move very far, so I had to move to the sanest part of Oregon as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And most of Oregon is a Second Amendment sanctuary. They're flat out told the government, yeah, you can eat a dick. And they've been doing this long before 114 was a thing. Only it was 114 that essentially caused more of them to pop up. Half the state, the eastern side is like Idaho. They want us to cede to Idaho, and they just want nothing to do with Western Oregon. So yeah, the Oregon is a lot more based than what people think it is. It's just those 2 cities. If those 2 cities were Thanos snapped out of existence, we'd be more based than Texas.
Right.
We have
That's what's funny.
Go on.
I mean, if you look at Illinois, they have the same problem, right? Illinois is, your typical Midwestern state. If you just Thanos snapped Chicago out of Illinois, it would be, just like any other Midwestern state. It'd be pretty well pro-gun and all that stuff. And also, I want to shout out to Nemesis, man. Good to see you. I've been busy, but I figured, hey, you guys haven't heard from me in a while. I'm gonna be here.
Well,
D-Man 50, good to see you as well. How was Utah? George Bruno says. I've heard great things about Utah. Some of the YouTubers I like to watch, like one of them is a gun tuber. You probably heard of Nuttin' Fancy. That's where he's out of. George Bruno says, my first girlfriend lives in Oregon. She thinks it's the promised land where she lives. Yeah.
Let me guess, Portland. Because when you're in Oregon, you get away from the major cities. It's great, especially rural Oregon. Love it. But,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's beautiful country. The pictures I've seen out there and stuff, I mean, it's beautiful country. You just got all these commies that have taken over your cities. Like, they're not just left-wing scums. I mean, they're full-on communists that have just taken shit over.
right.
It's like I mean, to me, I'm not actually, on the ground, but from what I see, it's almost like observing like a zombie movie or something.
Well,
I'd say it's
it is.
it's more like they captured the institutions, if anything. Like, because I mean, one thing about conservatism, I'll say, is that it's more covert than that it is open. So, it takes quite a bit to stir them up and to get them to do anything. So, you did watch a pretty big exodus happen, right? They didn't.
Yeah.
They went pretty much quietly for the most part and just left the areas they had lived in for probably multiple generations as their areas went blue. So,
Yeah.
but they were even affected themselves because I mean they did some research and found that the Republicans, the red folk moving into Texas, were actually more liberal than the native Texas Democrats apparently. So
That's what I've always said that, man. Like if you take a guy who's a Republican from like New Jersey and you move him to, the South, he's still going to be probably further left than the Democrats in that state. Even
Well,
though he's
I
supposed
think
to
a
be
big-
a right wing guy, supposedly their version of right wing.
Well, I think a big problem with that too is that like there's fiscal conservatism and then there's social conservatism. So
Sure.
when they're doing these, what they're finding out is that people moving out of the cities, Republicans moving out of cities, have grown up with very very much more socially liberal, which I would agree with, by the way. because I don't see how you tie those things together. It's such a weird mix to be a social conservative, or I'm sorry, yeah, a social conservative and a fiscal conservative, because they're kind of at odds in my mind, as opposed to Democrats who are socially liberal, but like fiscally liberal. It's such a weird move to be for rights, for civil liberties, and all that kind of stuff, but not when it comes to money, not when it comes to actually living your day-to-day life, right? So, yeah, there's just some strange stuff that happens there where I guess I would have aligned more with the Republicans escaping from the cities, because a lot of the social conservative tendencies are just they're just not in alignment with the fiscal conservatism at the end of the day. So I think that's a big part of what's changing things at the moment throughout Texas and with Oregon as well. Oregon not banning guns outright, and drugs are just legal, or all decriminalized at least. So,
Well, I mean, with Oregon, there's like a number of things that you could say with this particular state. Well, one, you could like blame the Californians moving here because, yeah, they ruined their state. They're moving to Washington. They're moving to, I don't think they're moving to Oregon as much. I think they're moving mostly to Washington because, the tech jobs, and then they're moving to Texas, moving to Florida, and other places. They're not moving to, mostly they're moving to Idaho. That's the number one place they're moving to.
So, and they're gonna end up shitting up Idaho, man. That's not good.
Well, and they're already doing that to Boise. Boise is already blue. The rest of the state is keeping the state red.
If you're gonna move to another state, change your politics, because your politics are why you had to move in the first place. Stop being a left-wing scum. How about that?
Well, many of those people aren't smart enough to even put two and two together, so
Yeah, it's almost like cognitive dissonance and not taking accountability for what they do at the ballot box. They're like you said, they're not seeing the connection between how they're voting and what happens, because they're getting what they want, and now all of a sudden, oh wait, now I got to move to Idaho or Texas or Florida. Like, get the fuck out of here, man.
I mean, I could see that point of view, but I could also see where I'm not sure how much elections matter anyway. Like there's a big social game being played, a big psychological operation being played, particularly by the federal government, and it's not like it's a new thing. I mean, this I don't know if you know, but Tim Pool, who I don't usually watch anymore, because I think he's controlled anyway, but he had Ron Paul come on, and you hear Ron Paul talking about it matter-of-factly.
Mm-hmm.
He says the coup happened in 1962. I generally agree with that. But you could point back to the early 1910s era with FDR and how he was a proto-fascist, only in that the term didn't exist to describe him at the moment. And you see all the changes he made. Basically, that chain of progressivism that ran down, and basically, I mean, by conservative values. If you look at the conservatives of the time. Leading up to now, what you would see is the conservatives has been very much more progressive. I mean, obviously, but that's not an accident. That was the game. That was a big operation that's been played out since for over 100 years now. So, like, none of this is any surprise if you just look at the history of it.
Right. History tells all.
And to that extent too, I would even point to the well, I was going to point to the early 1900s as kind of a turning point as well for so guns were legal. So people don't remember, like, we've been getting more of our gun rights back, but this didn't even happen in the 1960s. This actually happened even earlier, where gun rights started going away, leading up into Prohibition into the prohibition area, they started banning weapons and private ownership. So, like this 2A fight that we're fighting today is not new. This has been going on for 100 years as well, over 100 years as well.
Oh, 100%.
And but now I come back to a state like Ohio, and Ohio is now constitutional carry. Like you don't need a permit anymore. Completely reversed all of its past policies. Missouri has gone pretty radical in that direction as well, basically telling the ATF they're not going to participate anymore.
Yeah. And of course, I think there was some judge trying to overturn it, and Missouri's going to appeal, of course.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it was it was overturned at a federal court, but yeah, did it already get to the appeals court? I think it did. I think that's where it was. The appeals court was the one that was telling them that they had to go along with the previous law, and that their law was unconstitutional somehow. And now they have to take it to the Supreme Court if it gets there. I don't have any faith it's going to get there. So
yeah, they're usually kind of selective when it comes to those kind of cases, and a lot of times I believe they're strategically not taking certain cases so that they don't screw themselves down in the future.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but under FDR, the Supreme Court was threatened with court packing. That's actually the emergence of the concept of packing the courts, like adding on a number of other justices in order to make it more easy for the FDR to affect his policies. So they just kind of backed down and started going along with all this stuff because their power was going to go away. At the end of the day, all this stuff comes down to the power that these people are trying to hold on to themselves, for themselves in government, which is why they never go against their own power. They'll never sacrifice that.
Nope.
They'll never do anything to harm it.
They'll never give it up. I've been saying this for a while now, but if these people could like bottle up power and put it into like a syringe and inject themselves with it, that's exactly what they would do. You know, it's an addiction.
In fact, right. I mean, they'd even go a step further and probably do what Bane did in that Batman movie, where you basically press a button and start injecting yourself with power because you got yourself like a compressed canister of power until they explode and implode in their own power, reach critical mass, and then create a supermassive black hole of power. Who knows? But you get the idea.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see Nancy Pelosi try to boof it, you know.
Well, you know, I mean, some of these people they've been in politics longer than we've been alive.
That's true.
At some point they gotta fuck off.
Right.
You know?
Well, death comes for us all, so.
Yep.
I'm just not super hopeful that the problem is like we've already kicked the can down far enough down the road. We're already where we're at, and I think people have this notion in their head if we just elect the right people, like if all these bad boomers die off, that like finally millennials will step in. Everybody ignores Gen X, by the way. They don't exist. But millennials will step in and they'll do a much better job of running the government. And I'm like, this has been a trajectory. The people changing doesn't actually change anything. If it did, we would have seen that change happening for the few hundred years this country has existed. But it's all been in one direction. Since the founding fathers themselves established this country, they were already violating the Constitution immediately afterwards. And they did it in various ways. So it's like this is the trajectory we've been on since the foundation of the country. So you don't really get to put people in there into positions of power and then ask them, hey, we need you to, now that you're in power, what we want you to do is get rid of your power. And we need you to all unanimously do this. Yeah, it's never going to work.
I think any political system is subject to human nature because you got people who are the types of people that seek power. They're typically sociopathic, narcissistic, and so forth, even psychopathic, And many people are terrified of freedom, at least in the modern era. They're absolutely terrified of freedom. They just want someone else to make the decisions for them, because it's too scary for them to take responsibility for themselves.
Exactly.
And
And that seems to be what everybody's waiting on, is for some savior, which we saw with Trump. But can I invoke a TV show that I'm not sure anybody will be familiar with that just started?
sure.
It's called Rabbit Hole. And if you end up watching it, there's only 4 episodes of it so far, and I'm only on the 3rd episode. But in the 3rd episode, it's basically this is what the show seems to be, is just rubbing in. This is exactly how things happen, how they've been happening. It's Kiefer Sutherland is one of the actors in it. He's doing a really good job, but it's like a tell-all for how things really work in the real world. It's a tell-all for how they're basically manipulating everything.
Yeah. Okay. I don't really watch TV, but that might be something to write down. I want to highlight some comments from the chat. Nemesis says, "I'm very curious to know your take on Ron DeSantis running for the presidency. Do y'all think he'd do a better job than Trump?"
I'm sorry, who would do a better job than Trump? I was distracted for a second.
Ron DeSantis, the Florida guy.
Okay, so you know what? That reminds me of a conversation I was having yesterday with some people on Twitter. Like there was some live stream on Twitter I joined in, and I shared some of my thoughts on that. Now, before I do, I will share some of their thoughts, because I think some of their thoughts may have some validity, and I'll leave that up to you guys to decide, though. So when it came to Ron DeSantis versus Donald Trump, a lot of people, they want Ron DeSantis to stay in Florida because Florida is a state that they feel secure will stay red as long as Ron DeSantis stays in there and remains governor. Because if he were to leave, especially leave things open, then that would open the opportunity for the left to do their dirty work, get their guy in, and essentially ruin Florida by turning it into California 2.0 or something. Who knows? So now, do I like Ron DeSantis? Generally speaking, yes. I think DeSantis rules. He does a lot of good things that I agree with. Now, some people hate him. I lived in Florida for a time, and it was great. I believe Ron DeSantis was doing a good job. He definitely outdid Gavin Newsom, especially when it came to the scamdemic regarding imports. When it came to the ports and such, where Gavin Newsom was keeping the ports closed, and, well, maybe not keeping them closed, but he was essentially having all these restrictions in the ports, and when containers did come in, you had all these thugs that would raid the trains, go through all the items, steal what they wanted, and people weren't getting their packages. So that was another problem. But in Florida, you didn't have that problem. So a lot of ships, they rerouted to Florida because they got tired of sitting out at the docks for weeks or months. And Ron DeSantis was keeping the imports going, whereas Gavin Newsom was a bottleneck. Another thing Ron DeSantis does is that he's not afraid of the left. Is that when the libtards, they want to do X, Y, and Z, is say, no, we're not doing that. What we're going to do is we're going to have some common sense here, and we're going to do what works. And a lot of the libtards, they hate him for that. But people, generally speaking, they love Ron DeSantis. When I was there, I used to get rides with these people from Venezuela and Cuba, and they were telling me about their experiences there and how the things you see in America were what led up to communism in Venezuela and Cuba. And then seeing what was going on, they really appreciated Ron DeSantis. And they vote red without shame. Now, do I think that he would be a good president? So far, yes. I think that he would have more backbone than Trump in certain areas. I mean, it's not that I have anything against Trump, because there are a lot of things that Trump did that I really liked. One of them being not starting foreign wars and such. I mean, we had lower gas prices, we had record low unemployment, and things were actually turning around. But the Democrats were like, "Oh, this is unbearable. Trump is destroying America."
Yeah.
And then they got this child sniffing pedophile named Joe Biden, aka Pedo Pete. Put him in there, and this country's going straight to hell. And they're like, "This is fine," kind of like that dog in the burning building.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
but here's the argument. A lot of arguments that people have against DeSantis is that he wasn't backing Trump, and he said something about Trump during this potential indictment. I forgot what he said, but there are some people that are just forever Trumpers, and some people call them Cult 45. And
I've never heard that
some
one, but that's
people-
funny.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's pretty clever. Cult 45, playing a Colt 45.
Well,
But yeah, so do I think now ultimately I think that DeSantis would probably have bigger brass balls than Trump would. Because it would have been great if Trump, for example, would have kept the government shut down. Even more based if he kept the government shut down for 4 years. Then you get rid of a lot of people in the IRS, you get rid of the FBI, you get rid of the CIA, and my absolute favorite, you get rid of the ATF.
yeah, that's the one I really want to get rid of right now.
Yeah, and of all the three little agencies I hate the ATF the most. Now, I hate the IRS too, but by a small margin, I hate the ATF the most. Because if the ATF didn't exist, imagine if there was no ATF and we could own every arm that we wanted to, the government would definitely be a whole lot more scared to mess with us.
All right, you've opened up a lot of doors there. I'm gonna address the chat real quick, and then I'm gonna kind of respond to what you said.
Okay.
Real names not given says an honest government shouldn't fear an armed population. 100% agree. They may live through AI. That would be funny. It'd be kind of like what was that show? It was done by
Futurama.
yes, where their heads and like the glass like things being kept alive for ad nauseum. Kaiser Venom, good to see you. You are not too late, good sir. Always good to see you, man. That's your biggest fan there, Shogun. Time Force. Time Force 80. Always good to see you as well. He's a regular too. I hope Ron does not run because what's the point now? Cassandra Otroy, Trump 2024, but I think I'd be okay with DeSantis. And of course, Nemesis agreed with what you had to say, Shogun. He says, yes, capital. So, in my opinion, something that bothered me about Trump, I mean, for me, he's, he made me laugh. He definitely amused me because, the guy couldn't take an extra scoop of ice cream without the left, freaking out, right? They lost their shit over 2 scoops of ice cream. Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, the guy couldn't, take a leak the wrong way without them freaking out. But do I think he's some sort of superhero that's gonna save the U.S.? Fuck no. There is no one out there that's going to do that. You need to be your own advocate. If you're an American, you need to be your own advocate. You need to be armed. You need to be trained. You need to figure out how to get, a regular supply of clean water, regular supply of, good food. Grow your own food, preferably.
Right.
So yeah, there's lots that you need to do, and you're swimming against the tide to some degree because some states, are telling you can't collect rainwater. It's illegal. You can't even collect rainwater that falls on your property. Like, what the fuck is that all about? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, not even Hawaii bans collecting rainwater. There's a lot of people live off grid.
Yeah, and man, I mean, I pay attention to the gun stuff because it's super important to me. But when it comes to a lot of this shit, I like politics. I don't really watch it that much. Now, getting back to Trump, Like he is much better than the obviously Hillary or the guy we got in there right now. So I don't think DeSantis would be a bad choice either. But like someone was saying earlier, Florida would be pissed off because then the thing about your governor or whatever running for president and them getting it is then now you have to worry about who's going to replace that motherfucker. And it's the same way if you vote out a piece of shit politician or they retire or whatever, then you always have to worry about who's coming in next. Like they might even be worse than the person you just fucking had.
Right.
But yeah.
Might I interject something real
sure,
quick?
Sure.
I'm a little bit surprised by this. Everybody seems to be focusing on DeSantis, but everybody seems to have forgotten that there was actually a better governor. Was it North Dakota, Kristi Noem? She actually handled everything even better.
Yeah.
She did everything he did and without all the bad stuff that's been happening in the meantime.
Right. That's the woman that didn't shut down North Dakota over the vid. And
yeah, she didn't do anything.
See, I like that. That's what I like to see. I like to see, again, I mean, you sure you like her, Broccoli? I mean, you're supposed to be a woman hater.
I'm a woman-hating anarchist, in fact. So, yeah, I'm supposed to hate her for being a governor and for being a woman.
Oh, so you're not being true to your principles.
But I think of all the genuine people. I think of Kristi Noem. I thought she was actually pretty genuine from watching her speak. I didn't get the impression that she was like some sort of controlled opposition. Whereas Ron DeSantis out of Florida, yeah, it's a red state, but there's a lot of blue in there. For one, it just doesn't sit right.
There's a lot of New Yorkers that stay there too, though. Yeah.
Ron DeSantis doesn't sit right for me. He's a party guy. He's always been a party guy. He's a law guy too, by the way. And for him to be in the position he is right now, to be challenging Trump, and the fact that he basically did this like soft announce, but basically him try to push through that law so that he could hold on to being a governor while campaigning for president. It makes it look to me like they built him. Like whoever the they has always been, they built him. To the extent I think Trump was controlled, I don't think he was directly controlled. As in, I don't think he was in on it. He was controlled because he wasn't a politician. He didn't know how things actually operated.
My understanding is he trusted the wrong people. But I mean,
exactly.
I have some knocks against Trump. I mean, I'm just gonna be real with you. I mean, he's like he's got an R next to his name, but he's basically like a Democrat from like 50 years ago.
Right.
There's that. I mean, he supported the bump stock ban, which got overturned, but still is the principle to me.
And he supported red flag law
Anyone who supports red, like for me, my litmus test or whatever for politics, what are your views on the Second Amendment? You fail that test, then I probably won't like you. It doesn't matter what letter you have next to your name. Like
precisely.
I pretty much I won't vote for someone that has a D next to the name, period, but I might not vote for someone with an R next to the name depending on where their view of politics. I just simply won't vote. I just simply won't vote for them, period. Right? So that's my take on it. I want someone who's going to rein the ATF in or abolish them. Of course, like we were talking about earlier, they're never going to give up power. They'd have to be drugged, kicking and screaming to do that against their will for them to give up any power. They never want to shrink the size of the government. They always want to grow, and they never want to forfeit power. That's why, are you guys familiar with the Fair Tax Plan? It was something a guy named Neil Bortz had come out with many moons ago, and a politician who was in office at the time.
I never thought it was as good as the 999 plan, but
I've never heard of the.
You never heard of the?
No.
Oh my gosh, what was his name? Herman Cain. Herman Cain came up with the 999 plan.
I do remember him because he would actually, when Neil Bortz was out, Herman Cain would fill in for him, and he had his own show, of course.
Yeah. So that's what became the 999 plan. Was 9%. Basically, any of the tax brackets would have been 9%. What was it? 9% corporate tax, basically a flat tax of 9%, corporate tax 9%, or something like that. I forget the exact details of it, but it was essentially a flat tax.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I would still take the fair tax plan over any flat tax personally, but I mean, it's a consumption tax. There are states that run that very similar plan to that, where it's a consumption tax, and therefore there's no state income tax. I think Texas, Florida, and a couple other states have that type of scheme. The only downside to that, though, is it kind of relies on, at the state level anyways, it kind of relies on a state having like tourism. Because more people showing up as tourists, they make more money, by default. But I'd have to look into it more. I don't know enough to say anything definitively, but I prefer that.
Well, sales tax is the only there's no legitimate tax, but it's the least illegitimate
Sure, yeah.
tax scheme that you can have. So
since you're an anarchist, I'm not surprised, but yeah, that makes sense.
I met Herman Cain, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah.
Didn't he pass?
Yeah, he passed away.
Okay.
I found it a little bit suspicious, but yes, he did pass away.
People like Tom Clancy, not suspicious at all. Seth Rich, not even the least suspicious at all. People should.
Like if we want to name off a suspicious character who's still alive, right? Dan Crenshaw. How the hell is that guy still in office? This was pretty easy, but that guy is literally a villain.
Yeah, I mean the eye patch isn't enough.
Yeah. Sorry. I just wanted to evoke him because I just saw him recently, and it reminded me he's still somehow in government. Jeez.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people in government that,
But that's actually my point about. But that's kind of my point about Ron DeSantis too, though, is that
is he like a neocon or something? Because I hadn't brought up the neocons, but it was on my mind.
I don't know exactly what Ron DeSantis is. I just get the really strong impression that he's a Manchurian type candidate. I think he was crafted throughout this whole process. I don't know if he's always been, but they needed somebody to run against Trump. The Republicans, the faithful GOP, needed somebody decent to run against Trump, and there was nobody. Then suddenly we get this pandemic out of nowhere. We get this freaking pandemic, and then suddenly they have somebody to build into a traditional conservative hero to counter Trump. I find all the consequences that I see. I never believe in I'm sorry, not consequences. Coincidences. Okay, coincidences that I see.
Yeah.
I don't believe in coincidence anymore because now I'm kind of more familiar with how things actually work.
I have to agree with what Cassandra said. She says, like Obama, the ultimate Manchurian candidate.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So let me. Go ahead.
The only reason I voted for Obama was because he wasn't Bush. I mean, because he wasn't John McCain. Sorry. I was very anti-McCain.
And that's the camp that DeSantis would be in, is the Bush type crowd. But people don't know the history of the Bushes, from Prescott Bush, the grandfather, who was allowed to receive money out of Nazi Germany while nobody else was able to get their money back. Like people don't know how little the survivors of the Holocaust actually got back. In their own fortunes that were stolen by the Nazi Party. They never managed to get it back. Prescott Bush managed to get that money. That's what started the whole legacy.
And it is interesting, the Bush's friendship with the Clintons. I find it very interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
and there's
Yeah.
all kind of friendships that I've noticed have either persisted or have actually happened in the past. Like you'll see pictures of Donald Trump and Hillary and Bill actually shaking hands, which I believe was Epstein Island. So, and keep in mind that they still haven't released that list yet. If they really wanted to take down Trump, why don't they just release the client list? Oh, some of their other guys are on that list too, aren't they?
yeah. Speaking of that, since I don't really follow the news, I see headlines sometimes that open up, browser or something, and I'll see headlines, but I don't really, because politics honestly frustrates me and stresses me out, which I'm trying to lower my stress levels as much as possible. But what is all this horse shit about Trump being arrested?
Okay, they're trying to trump up some charges, no pun intended, based on the whole Stormy Daniels thing because he settled with her with some money, and now they're trying to bring that back up. But I mean, hey, never mind that Joe Biden was accused of sexually assaulting women and diddling kids. They don't want to talk about that. Like, I actually have it uploaded to my channel. Before he stole the election successfully, Biden. There was a 60 seconds segment on Biden, and it only aired in Australia about how this woman working for his campaign, he was sexually assaulted by Joe Biden, and because he felt entitled to her puss, and then she rejected him, and he was like, I'll get any puss that I want," and something like that, and the whole thing just got buried. And when she tried to do something about it, they attacked her. And this was years before he was running for president.
All right, so I think what I heard about that is supposedly he used taxpayer money or
Campaign finance. Yeah, they're trying to link it through campaign finance, which it came out of his money, but he was in a campaign, and so they're trying to by third order link the two.
So they're stretching really far.
Yeah, of course.
But
they own the courts, and they'll own any jury that goes in.
Right.
So they got him dead to rights on it.
Sure.
If they want, he that's what people really don't understand. If the people who have gone after Trump on this want him in prison, he will be in prison.
Yeah, because it'll be kangaroo courts no matter what.
People keep asking about when we're, what's going to happen when we become a police state, and it's like, I mean, I've been pointing this out for a while, but we've been a police state for over 40 years now. We also are an assassination state. If you look at, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, all these other figures that died around the same time. There's 1,000 influential people who all died all of a sudden. I mean, it's not even hidden anymore. That was all CIA ops. The same Central Intelligence Agency where when you said that Biden stole the election, Biden didn't do that. The CIA did that. So, just saying.
Yeah, it's all one big gay op from the start. But yeah, in addition, there was Malcolm X. Notice how around the time when he started calling out the Democrat Party for being essentially the worst enemy to America and the worst enemy to the black man, especially when they wanted to institute this welfare state. They did, and essentially take black fathers out the home and destroy the black community. Malcolm X saw that coming a mile away, and he would also point out it's essentially what the liberals are doing now, is how they're doing all this virtue signaling to say, hey, I'm a good white person. See, I'm against racism, and basically everything that they're doing is for their own gain and not the black person's gain. They just want to prop themselves up. And Malcolm X, he saw that. He called it out, and what happened? He got assassinated.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I think the specific terminology was beware of the white saviors.
Right.
Yes, beware of the white saviors. That's why I don't trust them, especially, and call me racist, but especially white women. White women that claim to, especially, and I say this because they used to be on the other side of Jim Crow. No, I'm not saying every white woman is racist. No, don't even go there. But what I am saying is that Right. But I mean, because I'm saying this basically in the audience, and just in case anyone's thinking
Right.
it, because I hear it all the time and I really get tired of addressing it. But the point I'm making is that you had some of the same white women that were basically on one side of Jim Crow, all of a sudden jump on the civil rights bandwagon talking about how I'm oppressed because I I don't get the same privileges or perceived privileges as a man does. And they hitched on to the civil rights movement where black people were actually, marching and going to jail, had dogs sicked on them, fire hose and all that stuff to get their rights. And white women, they just nagged and nagged until they finally got added to affirmative action. That's basically all they've done.
Well, I mean, that's also how we ended up with the nanny state. People might not be familiar with the concept of the devouring mother, but once
Yeah.
women became politically active and even pandered to by politics, it was game over. We were going to become authoritarian. That is the devouring mother, and I mean, coming back to our roots here, but yeah, men are definitely displaced in society now. So
Well, I just want you guys to remember that you are the bad guys now, right? Here's the
here's
the
the.
FBI brief right here is talking all about you guys.
I'm aware. Yeah, I'm on the list again.
Yeah.
Color me shocked. I'm on the list again.
You
Even though I'm not even an incel.
You red pill. Well, they're kind of combining them, red pill and black pill. I mean, it wasn't too bad. I mean, whoever did this did do some research. I'm not gonna completely dog him out, but
Yeah. Well, if there's now, although this concept really isn't new, because I think this was in 2019, I actually did a video on this about how they were talking about drone strikes for incels, which the title doesn't make any sense.
drone strikes for
So-
incels. That's a new one.
Yes. You know what? Let me. And then, of course, the algorithm buries it.
What's up, Green Ghost?
Oh, there it is. You have to type in the title and the name of my channel. I actually forgot to put the thumbnail on that thing where you had the Joker pointing at someone saying, "Bomb that motherfucker." So yeah, the video, it still does exist.
Yeah, I just think it's weird that like I said at the very beginning of the stream, the black pill guys, the incels they're not this like huge gigantic threat. They're pretty well harmless. I mean, I don't agree with their ideology or anything like that, but they're pretty harmless. Some of them even made threats, in my comments or whatever, and I was like, whatever, man. You guys aren't a threat. I'm not too worried about you. So who's listening to my stream?
No, that's Shogun listening to his own stream, trying to find the trying to
okay.
find the part.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
my bad.
I mean,
my
yeah.
bad.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't realize I was hot
No,
micing.
it's
I
all,
caught
it's
on
all
to it
gravy,
late.
man. It's all gravy.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, there it is. Found it. But yes.
Yeah, I was about to ask you what this is, like was this real? Was this a plan? What was this?
Okay, so it was basically, from what I understood, is that these government officials just needed something to talk about. They're basically just looking for a way to burn time and use taxpayer money to say that they're doing something. Because you know how government employees are. They're so useless. They're beyond useless at being useless.
Yeah.
They're some of the worst of the worst. They eat up tax money. They get paid to just sit around, be the scummiest of scum, and they need to either be fired or rounded up and thrown off a cliff.
Well, you're not going to be able to do that because they got these people out there, and well, what am I saying? Back the blue. Now that I'm on this list, I'm gonna have to change my tune a little bit. Back the blue. Police officers are good people. They would never violate people's rights or enforce illegal or unconstitutional actions. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they would never do that. They would never shoot their own people too.
What's up, Chris Mitchell? Trying to keep up with the chat. Echo in Eternity. What's up? I'm seeing new names in here. That's pretty cool. I've been away. I figured nobody would show up to this. I wasn't, the one thing about my streams I just have to remember is Murphy's Law, right? Because I never know what's actually going to happen. I'll usually be like, yeah, I'm just going to do a half-hour stream. Next thing I know, I'm streaming for like 3 hours. Yeah. So, Echo in Eternity. That's a new one.
I'm glad people are picking up on my total sincere confession there for my love for the state and for the boots that keep us safe from freedom.
We know you love the state. Big government is.
The bigger the better.
Yeah.
What can I say? Beat me harder, Daddy.
Yeah. What was it? Govern me harder or something? What was the old meme?
Yeah, that sounds like one of them. There's a lot of them.
We got a question in the chat, so we will address it. What are you guys' views on Mark Paseo and or his worldviews? Have any of you heard of him? I have heard of Mark Paseo, but I can't remember where specifically.
So he's he's another. I guess I would put him in the anarchy camp. He talks mostly focuses on natural law. As opposed to just any particular religious bent, he just focuses on natural law and kind of spiritualism, mysticism, occult practices, that kind of stuff. And I think he looks a little bit too much into the numerology kind of thing, or I forget the term. It starts with a G, but it also has something to do with the numbers and what the numbers mean. And he focuses a bit too much on Masons are running the world kind of stuff. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong about that. It's been a while, but
I think that might be where I know him from. Green Ghost. Green Ghost says I think he also exposes Satanism. That might be why I know that name. Promotes anarchy.
Yeah, gematria. That's correct. That's the word I was looking for. I actually have a number of friends, but that are kind of more interested in even know him, but. The problem is like one of the people I have associated with the most, who's in the Paseo crowd, he's an ANCOM. He's an anarcho-communist, so that's the kind
of I always thought ANCOM is basically an oxymoron.
Oh, I agree. It's an oxymoron, absolutely. In fact, like even anarcho-capitalism is unnecessary. You don't have to say the capitalism part because. Capitalism is just free market, basically nature. It's just an observation of nature. So anarchy is just naturism, basically, which sounds like it would be in line with Mark Paseo and his push for natural law. But I disagree with. I'm not an objectivist. Basically, I don't think there's an objective natural law. If there was, then every time I was going to violate this natural law, I'd get struck down by lightning. There'd be some consequence, but I don't believe in that at all. So I think we have rights because we choose to reciprocate rights with other people, essentially, and that doesn't make them necessarily objective, but yeah, that's where I come down on Mark Paseo a little bit. I don't think there's an objective reality, basically.
Nemesis says he throws shit at the anarchy community as he claims they are doing nothing.
Yeah, he's not wrong. That's the other exception I take, is all the people who think we need to do something. Like, first of all, that there's a we, and secondly, that there's a do something. There's a something to be done, but, beyond yourself. The real answer is, if you want freedom, you already have it. It's just how much pain are you willing to endure for not complying with all these violent assholes is the question at the end of the day. But 90 some 99% of your life is lived within anarchy already. So but yeah, Mark Passio is definitely more in the collectivist side than I'm comfortable with. So I'm also responding to Nemesis there.
Right. Yeah, I got some stuff going on. Shogun, you're pretty quiet, man.
No, I just wanted to give Brackley a chance to speak. I didn't want to hog the mic.
Oh, right. No, it's all good. Well, it's been a crazy, and I mean the past 3 years have been just nuts. It's been crazy as fuck. But apparently, I heard a little bit of some guy talking about people are finally starting to question, the jab now. I mean, and not just like people who like us, but like more normie type of people.
I mean, it's not shocking as even more people like Chris Van Zant. Are you familiar? Former Delta operator, or Sean Ryan, former Navy SEAL.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, well they just did a podcast recently where Van Zant was talking about his time in the Delta Force, and but they started out this whole podcast by talking about heart problems that they're both having, and it's like, well, okay, so maybe there's some family history on Van Zant's side, for example, but he's also having different symptomology than his father and his grandfather had when they had their early heart disease. And it just basically everything that I keep on seeing around me is people developing these heart conditions out of the blue, and then being like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to cut out the cholesterol. I'm gonna have to cut out eating fatty foods and all this stuff." And I'm just like, it's almost like a multi-pronged attack where the jab is causing all these problems for people, heart complications. Clotting, but it's not really clotting. And then they're getting treated by the modern medical establishment as if they have high cholesterol from eating fat. And I'm like, it's not really a thing. You have high cholesterol because you eat sugar, carbs, that kind of stuff. You don't get it from eating fat. So, so I'm just kind of confused on why I'm still seeing people blaming the wrong things, generally speaking. But like, if you wanted to create a plan to kill people over time, it just seems like the best way to go. You control dietary advice and tell people to cut out healthy foods and consume more bad foods. And oh, by the way, take these statins, which have been proven to be unhealthy for you, which will cause even further complications in heart disease. And then you tie in the jab, you tie in the diet, you tie in all this stuff, and it's like, it's hard for me to just be like, wow, that's just a lot of incompetence. It looks like, how much incompetence? Like, incompetence means you get things wrong every once in a while, right?
Sure.
This can't be incompetence. It's too brilliant to be incompetent. Like, because if you just set the goal path at decrease the amount of humans, this is definitely a way to go. Even if you look at the psychological establishment and how they treat mental health, it's like. And there's moves with the VA to try to decrease the amount of money that they're giving to veterans, and it's a plan. It looks like a plan, smells like a plan, quacks like a plan. It's a plan, right?
Right. Well, I mean, the Georgia Guidestones and all that fun stuff. They gotta find ways. They gotta cause wars, conflicts, disease, famine. Whatever they can do to not make it obvious that it's a plan, like you were just saying. Let's see. Green Ghost says, hang on, he said a bunch of stuff. Now I have an idea of where you're from now, Green Ghost. I didn't recognize the name, but now I know you now from somewhere, probably under a different name. But he said, Normie, he made the list. Yep, I'm on many, many lists. At this point,
Yep.
I'm sure.
I really don't care. But also, Green Ghost, I would like to give you my condolences, man. I'm sorry to hear that about your grandma.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah,
That
sorry.
sucks.
Ah, that's why I know you, Templar. Yes. Yes. Okay, Templar. Yep, I know you real well then.
Oh, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
He's just going under a different name, but he's still around.
Yeah, okay,
Awesome.
because it was me and Jaeger were wondering what happened to him because we were hoping he was all right. But yeah, I'm glad he's okay.
Well, on the topic of the jab, I think I saw an article talking about fibers being found in people's blood, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's-
Yeah, there's enough evidence out there now that it's indisputable that these aren't even blood clots. Like initially they were saying COVID caused blood clots, but the problem is what they're finding. And by the way, I even kind of know the pathway that this happens, but yeah, these are actually clots from the spike proteins interacting with neutrophils and creating these fibrous clots. So they look like white. They're white and they're very rubber bandy basically, and they're not just finding them in people's blood vessels. They're finding them everywhere. It's kind of crazy to be honest that they've managed to cover this up as much as they have outside of the alt media. But yeah, now there's like tens of thousands of mortuary affairs type people who have come forward with this information and provided samples and done some testing to figure out what it was. But
Right.
yeah, this is actually something too that was known before that should have made the jab immediately suspicious to anybody who had a background in anything to do with gene manipulation, gene splicing, any of that kind of stuff. Because one of the things they knew about spike proteins from viruses is that they could react with the components of the blood and create these kind of clots. They've known that for a while. And if you think about what the mRNA vaccines in particular were doing, was turning your body into manufactories for these spike proteins to give you immunity.
I mean, if the guy who's behind the mRNA technology comes out and says, "Hey, this is not good," and everybody just like wants to burn him at the stake, call him a non-believer, I mean, you're in Bizarro world. Something.
Yeah.
You don't want that shit either. You don't want to take that jab.
Well, I knew I didn't want to take it because the government was saying to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, it was just common sense, right? It's like the flu, but a little worse. I've had it a few times, got over it. I got I'm quite sure I had it back in, what was it? December 2019, I think. I'm pretty sure that's when I first caught it. Because I was like, man, I've had the flu many times in my life. I know exactly what that feels like. It's the same every time, and that was like, I almost thought I might have to go to the hospital because of all the fluid in my lungs, but I managed to not do it.
Yeah, I mean, I had the flu in the beginning of 2020, the stomach flu. It sucked, but I managed to get through it, and I have what I presume to be the coup. I can't really, I never got a test because I didn't care because I knew it was just like a common cold. Like the worst part was just going to bed one night and just having the shivers, even though I was warm.
You're right.
I was perfectly
Yeah.
warm, but yet I was having this, yet I
Cold
was shivering.
chills. Yeah. You'll
Yeah,
know
the chill,
because shit won't, it'll affect your taste. You either completely lose your sense of taste or everything will taste, they won't have much of a taste, but yeah, I mean that's I did not know that, but I was like trying when I could eat something. I was like, this has no taste. Like this is weird.
Yeah,
I didn't know what it was at the time until 2020 when they were finally like, oh, this COVID thing. Like, oh, okay.
yeah, I know one person that lost her sense of smell. I don't know if she got it back, but she did have it. But she was 60 something years old.
Hmm.
I find it weird that like I was all over the country. I didn't wear a mask anywhere I went. I was interacting with large groups of people in open spaces, sharing drinks, dancing, hanging out, all the things, and I don't think I ever got sick
Yeah,
the entire
Yeah.
time.
I only got sick because one of my housemates at the time brought it home. Because he got it, he got a test and he's tested positive, and then soon after that I got it, but it wasn't that bad.
Oh, by the way, there was no test. Yeah. I mean, I'm just being real here. There was never any test for COVID-19. There was a test for any coronavirus. They could have detected any coronavirus, especially given the cycle rates they were using.
The common
But,
cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally anything. There's tens of thousands of coronaviruses that you could have had, and it would have been. It didn't even have to be active. It could have just detected like old material from an infection you had years ago, and they would have detected that as you being COVID-19 positive. So
It was very intentionally done that way so they could bump up the numbers and stoke fear among the normies. Because there's still some people that I see to this day wearing their masks. Those are the people that that are conditioned.
Oh, God, they're
Me,
fucking-
I never, in the beginning, I refused to wear a mask. I only wore a mask when I absolutely had to. But there were times where I said, nah, screw it. I'm just not going to wear the mask.
I still have to go
And-
into government buildings, certain facilities where it's like required, and believe me, I do it begrudgingly as a motherfucker, and I try to get my business done and get the hell out of there as quickly
Yeah.
as possible. Because
Yeah,
I have
okay.
a fake mask. I have a fake mask. It's breathable.
I also have one.
Nice.
Yep.
Yep, I keep my fake mask just in case.
So you're saying fake mask because you got it from fakemask.com, didn't you?
No, I got it from, I forgot what it was called. Something Toy Something.
Oh, okay.
And basically, these fake breathable masks. It was
Oh,
worth it.
God.
Yeah, I got two. One is like less apparent than the other one, but the apparent one is you could tell it's just a mesh.
Yeah.
Like you could see my entire face through it. But I had people try to argue with me, and I'm like, look, I'm wearing a mask.
Well,
Right.
right. Technically you are wearing a mask, but I always thought
Yep.
the argument was pretty stupid. They always run with this. It's the same argument when you talk about how masks are useless, but they're like, well, why do surgeons wear the mask?
To not breathe infections into their patient. That's why.
Well,
like-
I
Not to
mean,
cough into their
Dude.
patients.
yeah, they don't want saliva to fall out of their mouth into open wounds. It's a little bit different when you're talking about an airborne virus that rides off
does.
of micro, moisture particles and shit, Doesn't quite work. And if you want to know how well it works, go out in the cold where you can see your breath, put a mask on and breathe out. You will see exactly that. You will see how easily it just goes right through that shit and spreads everywhere.
Well, it slows it down, and I'm like, yeah, but in a
Okay.
contained space, it wouldn't matter. Like actually slowing it down is probably worse.
A
You don't-
placebo, it's a placebo. It always was.
Yep. And when I was in Florida, very few places forced me to wear it. But I was in the Orlando area, so there were blue areas and there were coronatards there, but I had to come back to Washington after I lost my job, and it was much more strictly enforced because I lived in the center of the libtardation. But when I got out of that county, it was just a completely different world. We weren't forced to wear the thing, and it wasn't enforced on us, and it just felt freeing. I mean, down here, nobody forces you to wear a mask unless you're going into a hospital. That's the only time I'm ever forced to wear a mask out. Other than that, basically nobody cares except for those people who are conditioned.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if New Mexico is still enforcing masks. It's primarily the Indian reservations would not come off of it.
Yeah.
They just will not let it go.
If you're
Yeah.
still out in public wearing a mask, you are certifiable at this point. That's my
Yeah.
personal opinion.
No, I mean, I want to think that some people have adapted kind of a Japanese philosophy about it. That, like, if they're feeling sick, that they're putting masks on. Because I'm really hopeful that the people I'm still seeing masking are in that category and not and not trying to pretend that there's still a pandemic going on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, one can hope. I just don't know. I
It's
mean,
a scam.
I was shopping, and it's real weird for because my area is really conservative, but I was grocery shopping, and there was this dude and his kid. He made his kid wear a fucking mask. Like, kid had to be 4 or 5. And I was like, dude, bro, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's a bizarre world, man. It's hard to put into words.
Yeah. They don't make us do mask anymore at the colleges I'm at.
Yeah.
Oh shit, it's the life. What's up, brother?
Yeah, not much.
I
Been a
haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
Been a while.
He's been
It
pretty
has.
active in the server, but he just hasn't come on voice, and I haven't heard his voice in forever.
Yeah, same here. I mean, the avatar that he's had, that's been very iconic because I remember it from way back in the TFM days. He said that same avatar. So when I see that, it's like,
Right.
oh, I know who that is.
He's an OG. And,
Oh yeah. I
and-
make sure to keep it the same so people aren't confused. Anytime people change their profile picture for me, I don't know who they are.
Yeah, I've stuck
Yeah.
with the same one for a long time. So every once in a while, I'll put the Santa hat one on, certain times a year, but that's it.
This is the first. Yeah, this is the first avatar change that I've done that isn't something that's like Jubilee related.
Well, yeah, and Sunny lets you have it on that one.
Oh yeah.
You know the origin of my icon, right?
Yes,
No.
I made it.
I remember when it was a literal piece of broccoli.
I made it.
Yep. Yeah, I actually had to remake it recently. I had to go find it,
Did you?
and then I had to remake it because I'd lost it after all this time. So
I still have like a folder as like TFM memes and shit like that. I haven't quite deleted it, but there's some OG TFM memes.
Shogun, when you mention the TFM days, are you saying like time period wise or the actual TFM server that got nuked?
I'm talking about the actual TFM server. I'm talking about like 2017, 2018.
Oh yeah.
The best
Okay.
days of the server.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Green Ghost Templar wants to know if TFM's still active.
Well, he is.
Is on what's the platform? Meta? No, not Meta.
He's been kicked
Rumble,
off of everything.
Matrix or
And
whatever it's
MGTOW.tv, I think he also does multi streams. I haven't been on MGTOW.tv in like a year.
I mean, it's a pretty simple philosophy,
Yeah.
doesn't take too long to pick it up. Like, it's good to hang around if you're in the range, but yeah.
Yeah, it gets old after a bit.
But I just use it to back up my videos, really. And then, there's some videos I would like to stay up basically eternally. So
Yeah, I can think of some that
yeah,
I'm happy exist still.
I'm sure you do. And even then, some people won't listen. It is. Some people will just ignore any evidence or make excuses for people's dumbassery. But
Oh, and speaking of old avatars, look at the one I have now. Remember this one? This was the very
Hang
first
on.
one I had when
Let
I
me
came
look.
to TFM.
yep.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
the OG.
yeah.
Yep. I remember that one.
OG.
The audience can't see it, but yes.
Yeah.
If you guys know Shogun, he put on his OG avatar from the very beginning.
Yes, before the Jubilee days.
Yeah.
Who is Jubilee? I'm not familiar with
The X-Men.
X-Men?
Yes.
I'm unfamiliar.
He's not a comic book nerd, I guess. Most people would know, but
I don't know either, so you're in good company, man. Not a comic book, not a
No.
comic book nerd.
no. I know the character, but I'm old.
Oh, that person. Okay. Yeah, that's the one I know you by from your YouTube channel. Just from the glasses, they're very iconic.
Real names not given. Halsey mirrors the TFM show. Yeah, Halsey gives me the vibes of another person. Uh, so if you know what I'm talking about, that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, I never interacted with him that much. I just got the like BoomerCon.
Are you
and
talking about
boring?
DDJ?
Yes, well done, sir. Look, if you're like New Jersey guy and you claim to be a weapons expert, you never served in the military even. You claim to have this like giant collection of weapons and you're in New Jersey. Probably not, because they have the cucked AR-15. I just don't even want to curse my stream by putting that picture up on it.
Yeah,
But
let's not.
type in
Yeah.
California compliant AR-15 into your Google browser, and you'll see that abomination.
It is the most disgusting thing ever.
What is it called? Type 4 compliant?
California compliant AR-15. And if you're familiar with the AR-15 platform, you will see an abomination compared to what the real rifle should look like. It's cancer. So you're trying to turn the AR into a facsimile of a hunting rifle, but it's impossible.
No,
Yeah,
that
it
thing's
looks
an
like
abortion.
Yeah,
it looks like it's just missing parts.
it is missing parts, and yeah, I mean it's absurd. I got mad at California when Shogun will probably know what I'm talking about when they did the bullet button thing. I was like, that's cancer.
The what thing?
The bullet button. Do you remember that?
I don't think I recall the bullet button.
So what they ended up doing is they basically made it to where you couldn't drop the mag unless you had this like this key type device. And anytime you wanted to drop the mag and put a different one in there, you had to stick it in the rifle and like turn it or whatever to get it to drop. They called it like the bullet button or some shit.
Okay.
And I remember when they did that shit, and I was like, dude, fuck California. But I never imagined it would get as bad as it got.
California is just full retard. But speaking of that, did it have something to do with like special magazine catches? Because when I got a couple of parts kits from this website called everygunpart.com, and hashtag not sponsored, of course, but they had these mag releases for the ARs, and this was when I was first starting to build ARs and stuff, and they were different than the usual type. And I noticed that it's hard to actually get them to screw all the way in, and they're just a pain to use. And I took it to a gunsmith, and he was like, "Yeah, that's a California compliant one. That it's meant to be that way."
Yeah.
It's like, man, it's like 2 out of 3 kits I've gotten has had this thing, and it's really pissing me off, and I'm having a hard time getting out because it doesn't screw in and screw out like the normal ones do.
Yeah, I mean that shit's just and so basically like New York State, New Jersey, all these other states like have the same or very similar rules to like say California. So I make it very clear that I'm not a fan of the entire West Coast or the entire Northeast. There are I guess a few exceptions in the Northeast that are pretty freedom oriented, but I mean
The West Coast used to be great. It's gone straight to hell now.
Right. Exactly.
Oregon is the most sane of them all, and Washington just went so far downhill in just a matter of like 4 years. Everything was great until 4 years. That's all it took.
Yeah. Echo and Eternity says it's so cringe to see basic red pill info become roundtable talks on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, it's good and it's bad. I agree with what you're saying. It is pretty cringe, and the normies, have been taking terms from the red pill and normalizing them, for lack of a better term, which isn't necessarily bad as long as people understand. So simp and cuck, are like household terms now for everybody.
Yeah.
I especially like how they're all misused nowadays. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
It makes things more confusing.
yeah, they're kind of bastardized, but
At least they're out there.
yeah, originally people kind of understood what they were for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think the red pill ever really needs to go mainstream. And I've talked to some, you know, bigger red pill personalities, and I basically, if it the more mainstream it becomes, the more it's going to become watered down, and basically it's going to become the purple pill, and it's basically going to get even more watered down from that. Sure, you can imagine how bad that will be.
Oh yeah.
What's the famous Muslim convert? Oh, you're talking about
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate, who just got out of prison or whatever recently.
But he's still not free to go.
Right. Well, I talked to a real life friend of mine who knows about red pill stuff, and he's one of those guys that wants to be a passport bro, right? It's on it. I'm like, dude. I mean, yeah, it sucks in the U.S., but when you go do the passport bro thing, you have to remember, these other countries they're also very tribal. So you're a foreigner, you're not going to be in the tribe. So if shit hits the fan, you're kind of fucked, right? You'd be one of the first people that gets got because you're a foreigner.
Yep. Yeah, I keep on trying to talk Ben out of moving to Thailand. I'm like, or Thailand or any of those Asian countries, because they're looking, oh, if I go over there, I could have the Western relationship I've always wanted. Yeah, nah, I don't know what you're talking about, but
I mean, most modern women are corrupt, but there are still some decent ones out there, in my opinion. You can't approach it from a blue pill perspective. Right? If you go back to your blue pill conditioning, it's going to go bad no matter
Yeah, that's what Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's what happened with me recently. I was just
Do you want to share your story, the life,
Uh,
since we're
uh,
here?
yeah, it was wholesome at the beginning, and then pretty much I got lied to and got pissed through the entire way, and then made some mistakes on my end, and then it was just conflict after conflict.
Mm.
Um, and then yeah, and then it was over.
Yeah, that'll happen, man. Never forget. Well, you learn the hard way, but it was a good lesson.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Sometimes you gotta touch that stove before you realize you can get burned if you're not careful.
Hmm.
Right? So, it sucks. We've all pretty much been there, but you learn from it and you move forward and you make improvements.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, when you honestly, I learned a lot from post experiences, because I didn't search for answers until after the shit happened to me. Like, you at least had something to reference immediately, because you were already hanging around us for a long time, right? You just didn't have the experience to reference.
Yeah. And I would say for me, there was definitely inexperience on my end, so it was a bit of everything for me.
Sure. And you're still having in the server, you're still writing about your aha moments that are coming to you as you go. That's kind of what I experienced as well. So I was like, I did that, I read and I'd be like, I did that exact thing. and then that was the result. So it's like, ah, okay, or that's what they meant, or that's what
Yeah.
that meant. Let's see, Templar. Templar says, I used to watch this guy. I think he was a missionary in South America. He got along good with his neighbors until COVID, and then his neighbors turned on him. He left and brought his family back to the U.S. Damn. Yeah, you're always, unfortunately, humans are tribal. You have to remember that. If you go to a foreign country, you don't speak the language, and or that they know that you're just not from there. They're gonna see you as an outsider no matter what.
Yep. Well, hell, if you go to Hawaii, they're going to see you as an outsider. Like,
Yeah. I had a buddy from the army who's out there, but he's never really complained about the Samoans or anything.
And Hawaii would be a great place to live if it weren't for the gun laws.
Yeah, it's cancer.
oh, they
Yeah.
also pay like 6 times more for energy.
Yeah, the cost of living is absurd.
Yeah, that is higher too. And because I went to Hawaii in 2019, I really liked it because I didn't go to the tourist traps or anything like that. I went to some straight up rural places in Hawaii on the Big Island on the east side, not the west side. The east side is better. Got to experience the nature in the morning. You get to like at least at the place that I was staying. I was staying at a it was a fruit farm. And you could basically pick your breakfast off the trees if you wanted to. Star fruit, lemons, bananas, and the bananas there, they taste so much better than the ones that you eat at the store. It's like 3 times as good as at the least. It's like these bananas are just so good. The guavas, the mangoes, it's just fantastic. And it's like, especially if you have like a nice off-grid setup. Yeah, you can get some cheap property out there and you're good to go as long as you have an income to pay for the property taxes and all that good stuff, because food is more expensive out there too. But they have all these class 2 NFA restrictions. They have, well, at least now they're loosening up on their concealed carry permit laws. They're no longer a may issue state. They're supposed to be moving to shall issue due to the Bruin decision. But you still can't have mags over 10 rounds for pistols. Rifles is okay. And they still are pretty strict about what you can and can't like bring into the state. But other than that, it's great. The rural living is just fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't actually been, but I definitely want to go. Just the fact that you'd be hard pressed to starve on the island, even for meat. Apparently,
Oh,
all
yeah.
the wild, the loose pigs and loose
Chickens.
chickens.
My parents told me that when they took a vacation out there, and they were like, yeah, chickens just walk around everywhere. You just walk down the street and snatch a chicken up. You would probably not starve. And he said something, my dad said something about guys will run up to your car trying to sell you like a trash bag full of weed for like $100. Obviously, there's no way in fuck you could possibly smoke that entire bag if you're on vacation.
Well, one thing's for sure, there are some people out there that will help you smoke it because
Yeah,
because
with some
I stayed in
friends.
the-
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you'll make some friends out there pretty quick, especially fellow potheads if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
Because there were 2 Airbnbs that I stayed at. The second one was on the fruit farm I was telling you about, and
Mhm.
I got to hang out with the guy and meet some of his friends, and they were actually pretty cool to hang out with. I actually like hanging out with those guys. So like one guy, he was basically like he looked like I don't remember what Triple H's real name is, the wrestler. He looked like Triple H, but with
Yeah.
overalls. And of course, he was working on making gasoline out of organic material,
Hmm.
hanging up bananas. He had a pig that he was raising in the backyard. Yeah, that guy loved to smoke weed. So And then there were these other two girls that he was friends with. They'd come
Right.
over, they'd smoke some weed, and there were some overalls that were pretty chillax people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go back and visit them again, but then 2020 came along, the coof
Yep.
ruined my vacation plans because I was going to put away money to save to go back there again. But thanks to coof, I was out of work for almost a year. And things haven't fully recovered yet because getting jobs has been harder, especially when you work on a contingent basis in tech. And it's going to be even worse now that Piss Pants Biden is president.
God, dog. Yeah.
So sick of this pedophile.
I saw.
I'm just tired of all these motherfucking pedophiles on this motherfucking plane.
Right.
Well, that too. I mean, he's not the only pedo. He's just the one that they put in office.
I saw, like I said, when I pull up a certain browser, news articles come up first thing, and I saw one article. It's like, something is definitely wrong with Joe Biden. It's like, well, you think we've been saying that for how long, man? Like, you're just now
Right.
figuring that out. And then another article, probably yesterday's, talking about how he made a fool out of himself in Ireland. I guess that's where he's at right now. I don't know what he did. I'm curious now.
Speaking of news stories, by the way, did you hear about the guy who's going down now for leaking intelligence on the Ukraine war?
Wasn't he like Air Force,
Leaked through Discord.
like Air National Guard or some shit like that?
Yep,
Sure.
I believe. Yeah.
That's about all I know, is that some guy from the chair National Guard, leaked intelligence.
Yeah, so they claim.
So they.
But if he did, thank God for that guy. May he be blessed. Julian Assange and Snowden to be good company. So
What did he leak exactly?
I think he was leaking details about Ukraine operations or something. I haven't seen the leak yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen the leak yet either. I only heard a couple things about it. I've seen some pictures on Twitter. I just haven't gotten the scoop on it. I'm very curious as to what it was.
Like I said, I just see headlines. I don't really invest that much into it. So, yeah, because politics does make me angry, and I'm trying to just keep my stress levels low. So,
yeah,
fuck it. But yeah, that's why I don't know anything, and I just ask you guys. Keep you are my news people.
Yeah.
Well,
I barely keep
do
up with the news.
Right.
Yeah, I do what I can to stay informed, but my desire to inform is conflicting with my desire to stay sane. So
yeah, that's the struggle right there.
Yeah, at this point, if you just assume, if you just think of a topic in your head, like, oh, I wonder how rice futures are in China, you just think the opposite of what you would believe them to be, right? Just think of the opposite world, clown world, and that'll be the right answer, or more often than not.
All right. Yep, that makes me. On that note, let's see.
Yeah, I guess we're coming up on the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, we're not gonna go too much longer, gents.
All right, I think I was gonna hop off. I was just saying hi.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Life. Hope you're doing well, and you'll get better. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
It takes
actually.
It takes time. You'll be fully recovered and happy, but I am glad that you're doing better.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
I'm happy to.
All right, man. We'll see you in the server, brother.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we'll talk again. I just don't know when you all are in VC. I just see every once in a while.
Right. Yeah, my attendance is spotty. I mean, I check it almost daily, but just to see what's going on. But I don't really talk that much. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
All right, I'll hopefully see you all later. Have a
We
good
riding the tiger, boys.
Take care.
You too.
Riding the tiger.
I'm tiger, baby.
All right, so yeah, I think we're past the 2 hour mark. You
Yep.
go another 10 minutes or so. Any other topics you guys want to briefly discuss while we're here?
All right. Well, definitely get your affairs in order when it comes to inflation, of course.
Yes.
Buy gold, buy property if you can. Me, I have to find another job yet again.
Yeah.
So,
That's why I almost got into the coding, but a lot of that's like a contractual basis.
yeah, the contingency basis is not fun. I
Yeah,
would rather become a plumber and make 100, 200K a year.
yeah, dude. I mean, you're still that's still a possibility to learn a trade skill, and the necessary trade skills you'll do fine in the economy. I've several times considered even getting into, since I have an uncle who's an electrician, getting into there, but I have other plans right now.
Hmm.
But
And of
it's
course, my favorite trade to recommend to people to keep the tradition alive, become a gunsmith.
yeah.
With that
Here's
knowledge,
that's I will tell you. I have a friend. Since you're saying that, I want to be realistic here. I have a friend of mine who went to Sonora Desert Institute and got his gunsmithing, license degree, whatever. And it's a very hard trade to get into. It's one that is very protected by the people that are in it, people who are gunsmiths. Um, so they won't even let you, like, let's say you go through like a gunsmithing school, and you want to, maybe you don't feel comfortable enough to open up your own thing. Well, good luck getting an apprenticeship, because that's what he tried to do. And it's like, no, they're not gonna take on an apprentice, because your future competition, and
Yep.
they like to keep that trade very, very small, so that there's no competition.
yeah, boomers.
So if you want to be a gunsmith, which I don't discourage you from doing it, but I would definitely look around to see how many gunsmiths are in the area and how much competition it would be.
Well,
Well, you have to look at like gunsmithing throughout time too. It's kind of crappy, but like, would you going through gunsmithing school right now, saying you wanted to start up your own business? Well, a lot of those guys do a lot of FFL work, right?
Yeah.
To supplement the business. Well, the problem is, do you want to go through the current ATF to do all your FFL work that you need to do?
Yeah, I've heard under Child Sniffer that they're quick to snatch your FFL from you with the
oh yeah,
slightest little violation or perceived violation.
So the
yeah,
reason they're doing that is they're actually like under everybody's noses right now. They are building the National Firearms Database, and so they're trying to seize as many of the businesses as they can to get as wide of a scope on gun ownership in America. That's literally what they're doing.
Yep.
Those books that these guys carry for 20 years and then they delete records after
Yep.
20 years.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're just absorbing. The federal government's absorbing all those. They've been doing it all along, building a registry. So,
yep. And
Yep.
with that being said, the reason why I'm getting into gunsmithing is not to go into business necessarily, is because I want to be able to build my own weapons without the government in my business. I've built a few. I'm not going to say everything that I've built, especially on
Right.
the
Yeah,
air.
keep that to
But
yourself. Yep.
right, yeah, that's nobody's business but mine. But there are so many things that I can. There's only so many things that I can do right now with the limited amount of equipment that I have. Like some things, they're going to have to be welded. I'm going to have to do some re-welds. I'm going to have to do a bit of metalworking, metallurgy, and get myself a lathe and a CNC or a milling machine or what have you. I only have so much room for that. But with a bit of training, I could probably be a lot further ahead than I am now. Because some kits that I have they're a bit beyond my ability. I'm just getting as many of these as I can, especially considering what I have plans to use in the future, so that by the time that they're banned or further restricted or what have you, I'll still have them. It's a
Well,
matter
the
of
skills is the important thing.
well, yeah, the skills indeed.
Because
But
pretty much all the equipment is pretty standardized, so like you could get these skills independently and then turn that into gunsmithing, you know.
true, but at the same time, there are some things that I would like to have somebody with experience teach me, because I don't want to learn certain things the hard way, especially when it comes to things going boom.
Yeah, you don't want to fire a gun when it's out of battery. You will learn the hard way.
Oh,
To
Yeah,
do that.
and a new barrel is cheaper than a new face.
Yes.
That's why I don't rush when I'm building the AKs and stuff, because I don't have headspace gauges for an AK. No, I mean I have everything else,
Well,
but
you can order a no-go gauge though. I would recommend
yeah,
it actually, especially if
right.
you're going
But
to deal with shitty AKs. Century Arms, American made. You
mm,
really have to monitor that because they're a
uh,
ticking time bomb if you're not careful.
absolutely. And in addition to that, when it comes to headspace engages, I would rather just get all three of them: the go, the no go, and the field. Because the field gauge is definitely, in my opinion, going to be the most important. Because if your weapon closes on a field gauge, stop using that weapon. And if you can't fix it yourself, take it to someone who can. Because
Yeah.
just like you said, that is a ticking time bomb. And I've heard stories of some of these, of that particular brand that you mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah, so some of them, they start off good, but then eventually that headspace begins to change a bit.
Well,
So you gotta,
the metal starts is the gun starts eating itself. So I had a Century Arms RAS Red Army Standard rifle when they first started making American-made AKs, and I was like, why not? It's a pretty good deal. Then I seen all kinds of complaints about the rifle. The metallurgy, the some of the parts were just made cheap, and it started eating itself, and you could tell like the videos. If you like AKs, let me recommend the AK Operators Union YouTube channel. And I was a big fan of his, still am. And when I got this RAS, he did a video on it, and he had the exact same wear and tear on his rifle, and he kept testing it, and it failed the no-go gauge test. And he
Oof.
basically was like, "Hey guys, like this is a ticking time bomb." And he wasn't the only one. It was many people out in the field. And then they what's the new one? They came out with another rifle. And we're talking the stamped. They came out with two rifles. One's a milled receiver, which I wouldn't get that one either, and a stamped receiver, which I don't know what
C39.
the C39. Yes, I would not get that either. They both of them fail the no-go gauge test. No, not the Wasser. Real name's not given. I have a Wasser, and I love that little bastard. But
Yeah, the
the
Walker
difference
is there.
is Wasser's made in Romania. Right?
Yes, they're imported.
They're imported. The ones you had to worry about are the ones that were made in the U.S. For some reason, Americans can't make it an AK that works right. I don't know why.
Well, Palmetto State
Yeah,
they at least they try to do something about their quality control.
yeah. I respect the hell out of Palmetto State. People poo-poo on them, but I have a massive amount of respect. If you're looking for a gun, get on their fucking website and look at their daily deals. They had everyone knows that I am a CZ freak show, right? So they had a great deal on a full size CZ. It's like a P10 or I forget which one it is, but it's like $400 for normally a pistol that ranks in at over 600, like 650. Like, holy fuck, that is a deal. A friend of mine got a rifle and a handgun combination with magazines and everything for like 700 bones. And I got my hands on that pistol just to look at it. So Palmetto State came out with a pistol called the Dagger. It is, I would take that over, honestly, I'd take that over a regular Glock because it's based off of a Glock. But I like it. The ergos are great. It has all the bells and whistles, and it's got a great price tag on it. Just saying.
Nice.
Yeah, I would recommend it. If you're a Glock, I'm a hammer fired kind of guy, but I would buy the CZ P10 just because I'm a collector. I don't really like striker fired handguns anymore. I grew out of that. I'm a hammer fired guy.
Well, I definitely have a lot less problems with hammer fire so far. And those that know me know that my favorite pistol, and I even use it for my everyday carry, is a Stava M57.
The Tokarev.
Yep, 7.62 by 25, 9 rounds magazine, and it's a very reliable weapon.
Yeah, my buddy. If anyone here, some of you guys remember my gun shows, and I had a co-host that I would have on the show every once in a while, and I converted him from a 1911 guy to a 9mm guy, but he has since moved on. He's now a Tokarev guy, so he carries his Tok around, and he also likes Makarovs too, but it's neither here nor there. So he loves his Russian handguns.
But
Yeah.
by the way, you were looking at the P09. The P09's the hammer fire. P10 is when they moved over to striker file.
No, I own a P9. I'm talking about the P10. It was a deal yesterday.
Oh yeah, that's striker fired. By the way,
right.
Yeah,
exactly. I own a P9. I want a P07 too, but I'm a collector.
P07 is just a compact 9, right?
Yeah, it's about the same size as it's a smaller version of the P09. Basically,
Yeah.
It's also polymer, whereas normally they're alloy. Which, I'm a collector. I prefer the alloy like metal ones, but I'll take the polymer ones too. They have their strong suits.
Yeah. Yeah, I still haven't picked one up, but at some point I'll have a. I've wanted a P09 for like years, so.
Yeah, I like mine, but yeah, I would rather I don't like guns that are too big for my hand. But I like it pretty well. I mean, I like the great thing about the P09 and the P07 is it's modular. So if you want to what do you call it? If you want to put a safety on it, that's right. Okay, if you want to put a safety on it, you can put a safety on it. But stock it comes with a decocker. So it's modular. It has you can. Some of them might even have the suppressor ready barrel in them and raised sights. Of course, it's got a rail, like all the bells and whistles on that guy.
And high cat, 21 round capacity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Actually, let me see. Let me pull it out.
Yeah, I think it's 21 out of the box, if I'm not mistaken.
P09. I mean, if you're like a guy with big hands, you would like the P09. It'd be perfect for you. Let's see. Yeah, it's about a 20. I think this is a 20 round mag, roughly. It's big old mag. Big old mag.
And also just a reminder out there. Now, when I bring up the M57, I won't necessarily recommend that for just anybody, especially if you're new to pistols and such, because for one, it's milsurp, and when it's milsurp, it tends to come with a lot of cosmoline. And a lot of times, those milsurp weapons covered in tons of cosmoline, they tend to have accuracy issues to the point where you can't even hit the paper at 10 feet.
Yeah, they douse. You got to clean it very, very thoroughly. I had a Mosin. I own 2 Mosins, but the first one I ever got was just doused in Cosmoline. I put a lot of work into cleaning it.
Yes, although I mean it was worth it to preserve it, but if you can't clean it yourself, I highly recommend taking this to a professional. So I had to take it to a gunsmith because I knew it was just too much for me to be able to work on, especially considering what limited space I had at the time. So what I did was I took it to a gunsmith. He put it in a sonic cleaner, and I remember when I was calling the gunsmith to see how the cleaning was going, and I heard the guy was talking in the background and said, "Oh, that thing." He said that thing was a bitch to clean. I had to put it in a sonic cleaner 9 times to get it to come clean. And when I got it back, there was still a little bit of cosmoline on it, but it worked much better. The accuracy on that M57 was so much better after I had the gunsmith clean it in Sonic Clean. So, yeah, just be aware of that.
Yep, that's the downside of Milsurp. Although, as a collector, I would definitely have to get more Milsurp stuff.
Oh yeah.
But Echo in Eternity says, I have a P10C and it's fantastic. Yep, you can't go wrong with CZ. And the only CZ gun I didn't really care for was the Scorpion. And it fixed almost all the gripes I had on that son of a bitch. So I forget what they call it, but they call it something different. But yeah, that I might invest in getting the new one. I wouldn't have gotten the Scorpion Evo. But all the other CZ products, hell yes.
Yeah, I got a CZ shotgun actually.
Ah yes, yeah, they make hunting shotguns. I totally forgot about that.
Oh yeah, it's actually really nice. It's a very very accurate weapon. I need to get back out into doing trap and skeet.
Although I wouldn't mind owning a CZ Scorpion myself, but the parts kits are usually when those parts kits become available, they get snatched up really quick.
Well, you're thinking the old Scorpion. So what is it? The M63 the little guy. I want one of those too. I want one of those too. That's on the list. But I'm talking about the modern Scorpion. So the one you're talking about is spelled Scorpion with a K.
That Scorpion. Yeah. Okay. But yes, the Scorpion that I'm thinking of, it was actually featured in Siphon Filter 3. That's when I first learned what it was.
It was in a lot of games as a little submachine gun because that's what it is. A little, they would equip the tanker crew guys with those little things.
Yeah, but this was back before I understood much about guns. Yeah. I just remember it was the most powerful submachine gun in Siphon Filter 3, and it looked like just a regular pistol with a really funky looking stock that was always folded forward. And that's why when I saw it in real life, I was thinking, oh, it must be this all-powerful weapon, so I'd love to have it. Because at a high rate of fire, high damage rate in the game, but it shoots 7.65 millimeter, which...
Well, it comes in multiple calibers. I think the one I was going to get was in 3. They'll sell it in 380 ACP and a bunch of other obscure calibers. But yeah, I mean, I want one. They're just cool little guns. The problem is they won't let you have the little wire stock, because that's an SBR.
Yeah, it's retarded.
Right. Yeah, they need to abolish the SBR laws.
Yeah, and you'd have to weld it in place, which wouldn't be practical.
Well, it looks like the Supreme Court might be challenging some of the powers of the ATF here in the near term, which I guess we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, it looks like SBRs might be back on the table at some point, along with machine guns. I don't know. It's because I think it's coming down from that whole move to being pistol braces might actually end up changing. Well, they're going to acknowledge some definitions that might actually free up machine guns and we'll see. Well, I don't think it's going to go down that way.
They're trying to ignore the Bruin decision as much as they can, but it's not going to work with an honest judge, anyways.
Yeah, and the funny thing about machine guns is that as much as I would love to see them legalized and the NFA done away with, here is my issue: is that considering that we have more crime than we have so many places that are just intentionally soft on crime but tough on guns. Now, if people were to all of a sudden realize, oh wait, you can make make anything fully automatic, and then you have all these OGs that are actually starting to put work into, making their guns fully automatic, and they have their drive-bys with fully automatic machine guns. That, or the CIA or the FBI will probably, flood the streets with some machine guns, so they can create some chaos and then try to create some excuse to say, see, these weapons were dangerous. They never should have been unbanned.
Weapons of war on our streets. Yeah,
What about-
that's the whole
what
point of the
about-
Second Amendment, sir.
Yeah, the problem is once they make fully automatics get down to the street level, accuracy will actually go down. So
Well,
people will
Right,
survive.
That is true, but at the same time, normies don't think about this sort of thing. They think more bullets means more bullets down range, and stray bullets can hit more people, and they don't understand the specifics behind a fully automatic machine gun, nor do they understand its purpose. They think that, oh, these machine guns are designed to kill as many people as possible, and only the police/military should have them. Now, by that logic, would you really trust the military and the police to have it? Because, like you said, they're designed to kill as many people as possible.
Actually, the only reason for automatic fire is suppression. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's to kill people. It's not to kill people better. It's to keep them from shooting at you. Actually, so.
Movies and video games, man. Like, just
Yeah.
like a lot of people misunderstand the 3-round burst M16 and M4 from back in the day. If you were having to fire your weapon on burst fire, you're in bad shape. That's why you had a guy in your squad that had a light machine gun, typically a 249 Saul.
No, not back
Yeah.
then. M60. Yeah,
Well, you talking about the pig, yeah. I'm
yeah.
just
Back
saying.
in the day.
Back in the
Mhm.
way beyond, but yeah, I'm just talking about in my day. In my day, like I'm an old man and shit,
Speaking of belt-fed weapons, one kit that I wanted to get, but I didn't have the money to, and even though it was fairly cheap for a belty, was the UK-59. Now they're pretty much all gone, and there's a few out there for like 2,500, but
Yeah.
they're normally like 1,400 before.
Wait, Wolf, real quick. Were you issued a M16 when you deployed?
Oh yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. We were
Yeah.
all issued M4s, so
Right. But
I
you
just
were-
didn't think about it.
but
You,
you were-
actually had 3-round burst.
Yeah, you were an MP, right? If I recall.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well-
you got better stuff than we. Here's another fun factoid. When I deployed, they didn't give us the armor with the sappy plates. We had the old flak vests with
Oh, nice.
no plates. They gave
That'll
us
save you.
They gave us the armor with the sappy plates later, but we were already in theater.
Wow.
Yeah, so like thanks guys, appreciate that. Glad you care about our lives. But yeah, I still actually have that vest to this day, the old flak vest.
Oh, nice.
It's just a memento.
That's why I went with the Vietnam War thing, because it's like, man, I didn't see any M16s in theaters, so. Oh, I did actually. Now that I recall, the Iraqis had them.
Are you talking
Yeah.
about M16A4s?
I'm just talking
No,
about
the Marine
generally
Corps-
M16s.
The Marine Corps
Hmm.
was using the A4s. The U.S. Army was, when I was in, there was a lot of things that were changing. So, they had just approved, like I'd been in the Army a couple of years when they started with that stupid,
UCP.
yeah, the stupid camo pattern. God, it made no sense. Like we want to have a digital pattern, but it's your colors, you stick out like a sore thumb. Like what the fuck is this?
Yeah, you only blended with 1970s flower couches.
Yeah. We call them just AC. Well, we refer to it as just the ACU pattern.
ACU.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Yeah, so the Army was also replacing M16A2s with the M4s. So they hadn't, they were starting to give those out. They started off with obviously infantry and MPs, giving them M4s, and then other units as they went. But yeah, we did not get the best of the best equipment.
Well, that's
Yeah, I mean, I survived somehow, but we did it.
well. I'm glad you survived. That was the most important thing.
Yes, that is very important. Yeah, I like surviving.
Yeah.
Surviving's probably a good thing.
It's enjoyable,
Mm.
right?
If you don't
Except for the
mind me asking-
government. Except for the government's not really happy with it. So
No, they don't.
Uh,
They don't like that.
if you don't mind me asking, do you believe a lot of, well, like if you're like talking to a military veteran, do you think a lot of military veterans don't like it when you ask them about their kill count?
No, most of them don't like it. Now,
Okay.
if you talk to some guy who might have been like a cook or something, and you ask, well, how many people did you kill? He's not going to tell you he was a cook. He's going to tell you he killed people with a fucking with a K-bar or something. That he just was
Yeah.
letting everybody. I've heard storytellers. I've heard
Mm.
guys that heard never serves come up with some really interesting stories.
Yeah. No.
Everybody's a ranger. Everybody's a SEAL. Everybody's a Green Beret that you talk to, but they're not. I met more supposed Green Berets and SEALs and Rangers outside of the military than I ever did inside the military. Because people can't just say, "Hey, I was so and so."
Yeah. I just
well, I
remember-
myself was special forces. I like to lick windows. I love licking windows. You might be thinking of a different special forces though.
Yeah, the reason
Snozzberries taste like snozzberries.
Well, the reason I asked that was because I'll never forget the time where I was working in this place in the Midwest. This was before I moved back to the West Coast. There was a guy who I was talking to, and I found out that he was an Iraq War veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And me, and my autistic self, not really thinking about this before. And one of the first things I was like, "Oh, cool. What was your kill count?" And although he casually answers, like, "Oh yeah, like 8 or 9." But it was, he said, "Yeah, we didn't like do it alone. It was just me and our platoon working together to take these guys out."
Yeah.
And we were talking, because then we were talking amongst this guys, like, "Oh yeah, you don't want to piss them off. I mean, this guy has put a few guys in the dirt before, but he was a really cool guy. He actually wasn't bothered by it."
Yeah. A lot of guys were typically pretty laid back, but it's kind of it's something everybody asks. Guys who don't know, it's one of the first things they ask, how many people you kill over there? I remember doing that with my grandfather when I was a child, though. I was like 5 years old, and I found out my grandfather was, a Korean War veteran. And I asked him, and different mentality, right? We're talking my grandfather. If you know anything about military history, he was a fucking Rakusan. And if you don't know what that fucking means, it is like a paratrooper from, they got the name Rakusan from the Japanese in World War II.
101st. Yep.
Yeah. And I know for a fact, like now, there's no way he didn't turn some bodies cold. It's impossible. For you to be an infantry Rakusan in Korea, you turn quite a few bodies cold. But what he told me is he told me, I was 5, he's like, "Yeah, I don't know if I just, shot at people. I don't know if I killed them." But upon thinking about it as an adult, like, yeah, he turns people's bodies cold for sure. He's not going to tell his grandson that he fucking wasted a bunch of people. And it's a totally different mentality with them, older people. He was born during the Great Depression, so.
Well, it wasn't a point of pride.
Right. Yeah.
Like we have a death culture now, which is a whole conversation of its own. But Yeah, we basically live in a death culture now, which is why we're kind of intrigued by these things. Why people feel the need to ask about kill counts, but they never ask is like why were we there? Why were we in Korea? You know,
Right.
be a little bit
Yeah.
different if you talk about World War II, maybe, but even then they weren't really proud. You know, killing as many Nazis as they could. I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't really brag about that
It's
either,
it's
which
the,
tells you about their mindset at the time.
it's the storytellers that you have to deal with over here.
Yeah,
They killed everybody with a K-bar, single-handedly.
I used
Yeah.
a shovel.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I used my E-tool and cut his fucking head off. Right? Stupid ass shit that people conjure up. What's up, Marty? Marty in sales. What up, homie? Went to World War II reunions with my granddad. No one talked about it. Exactly. You see, it's totally different mentality. Totally different.
So that's what the H11 was. It was a G11.
Yeah, you're talking about that prototype weapon, the G11,
Yeah,
with
just the thought.
the caseless ammo.
Yep, that one.
Mm.
That could be a thing again.
Well, I have heard, a little bit of talk about caseless ammo weapons, coming out possibly. But I mean, some people are talking about making laser guns, so I don't know.
Laser pews would be kind of lame as of right now. Plasma
Right.
pews might do better.
They might mention the nightmares about war that they would have. Yeah, I mean, I knew a guy. I used to work with a guy who was in Vietnam, and I guess he was a Marine who got separated from his guys, and he was lost in the jungle. And I'll never forget. I'll never forget that guy. I mean, he was old as fuck, so he fell asleep, and he would have dreams about, I mean, he was like crying for help and shit in his sleep. It's fucking crazy as shit.
Yeah, it's weird that people revere that today. They're like it's romanticized, and it's like if you actually ask people who've been through stuff, it's horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, yeah, dude, if you've seen people's body turn cold, it's not romantic. Put it to you that way.
Yeah, I almost had a man die in my arms once due to being roofied and almost swallowing his tongue.
Damn.
And it was a good thing that the ambulance got there when he did, because I wasn't sure how long the guy was going to last. That was not a pleasant moment in itself. But imagine the guy dying. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
that's a long story.
I mean, I couldn't imagine having dreams. I mean, this guy was like the Vietnam guy. He would he was moving in his sleep. He was raising his arms up to like protect himself as if he was being beaten with a bamboo stick or some shit. He was going, help, help. I was like, holy fuck. Like, should I wake this guy up, or what is happening here?
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. I think that guy ended up retiring. So he probably needed to. I have a Walther PPK with Nazi insignia he took off of an officer. Oh shit.
Mm.
Damn.
That would have been nice to have.
War trophy.
Ever since I started playing Enlisted,
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get my hands on a Walther PPK or a P38. The parts kit for a P38 is usually around $700. Sometimes you can get a PPK for around 200, but not the Nazi kind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're talking about modern one. Yeah.
Yeah, the modern ones. I
I
found one where the receiver was crushed a bit, but it looked like it was salvageable. I tried to bid on it, but I got outbid. Somebody beat me.
They
Oh well.
do not like you to take war trophies nowadays. We were advised not to do that. But I may or may not have brought a Iraqi AK-47 bayonet home with me that fits quite well on my AK-47. But
Yeah, I always hated that thing because because you're not being paid a whole lot as a soldier. So
no, you're not.
Yes,
You are
and as
not
one
being
of your
paid shit.
rewards is to be able to bring back, some of the spoils of war. That was part of your rewards for fighting for your country. But and I know some people may not like what I'm about to say, but it's like Americans have gone so pussified to the point where they've forgotten what war was all about. It's not it's in addition to winning, it's about ending the war quickly and getting the job done, going home and leaving and taking what's yours. Not
I
saying
don't
you
know
have to
I don't know if I agree with that though. Like, yeah, man,
That's
gets into the
like
concept of a just war,
yeah, that's
but
like an old world like view of like the Vikings or some shit. Yeah, we conquered,
I'm
so
not
we'll
saying
take what we want.
well, I'm not saying you should pillage. I'm not saying
Yeah.
you have a right to pillage, but if let's say that you manage to defeat a high-ranking officer, I believe you should be able to take something off of, like one of his badges, his hat, or maybe his pistol, or maybe his rifle, and say, "Hey, as proof, I have the rifle that once belonged to, let's say, General Stauffenberger, who was like a high-ranking Nazi."
Yeah, that hasn't been allowed for
basically since World War II.
yeah, pretty
And
much.
there-
I don't even
yeah,
think
there-
that Vietnam guys could take any real war trophies, anything good.
Yeah, I think it's
they,
bogus.
they were more able to bring home things like grenades, though.
Mhm.
Man, those guys were
Yeah.
sneaking home all sorts of military issue gear.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was just gonna say something about that though. That I think the reason they had to cut it off after World War II is because the really not talked about rape and pillaging that happened throughout. Like we paint this really rosy picture of the Americans' exodus out of Germany after we defeated the Nazis, but actually between everybody knows about the Russians' rape and pillage of Deutschland, but people don't remember. Like, the Americans did it too. The British did it too. Like there was a lot of pillaging that was happening against the civilian populations, and so I think that probably guided the hand to just prevent all war trophies in general. But yeah, it was pretty bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, even the swords of the North during the Civil War did their fair share of raping and pillaging, and Abraham Lincoln didn't seem to care.
Wait, what do you mean the Civil War? I'm not familiar with that one. Do you mean the War of Northern Aggression?
Yeah, the War of Northern Aggression. Yes,
Okay.
yes, good point. Thank you, Rockley. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, now people who are listening who are not familiar are going to be like, he's in favor of slavery. It's like, yeah, the war had nothing to do with that.
Exactly.
Slavery ended what, 9 years later or something?
Well, the thing is that with the war, when the war first happened, it was about the Morrill tax, and it had to do with the agrarian South and the industrial North. And the North wanted more power of the South for the most part. I mean, to make it a long story short, the Morrill tax was going to tax imports 45%, and I think iron was taxed 50%. And the North had finally said, you know what, screw this, we're going to secede. And they seceded, and the North didn't like that, so they're like, yeah, we're going to stay by force. And eventually they made it about slavery because they didn't want involved, because Europe was actually in favor of having tariff-free imports for the South, because, I mean, that's good business for them. So, yeah, this says, yeah, well, let's make it about slavery. And now that the North won, they're basically the ones that get to write history. It was written by the winners. They don't tell you this stuff in school. And me as a black man, when I start talking about it, it's like, oh, you're an Uncle Tom. You wanted to be a slave. You didn't even listen to anything I just said. No, I didn't, because we already know that slavery. And Robert E. Lee actually said, no, he didn't. He said in a letter that it was not about slavery, and he said slavery was actually one of the evils. Yeah, I mean, there's even videos of Civil War veterans from the 40s. You know, I mean, they're really old back then. I mean, yeah, those veterans have already died, but they said it themselves, said, no, it was not about slavery. It was about states' rights and taxes. They just made it about slavery later on.
Yep.
But yeah, but you're still an Uncle Tom. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. I'm an Uncle Ruckus too. Oh yes, I can do the voice. Yeah, Uncle Ruckus. So yeah, fine. I'm Uncle Ruckus too. I don't
There you
care.
go.
But yeah, some people you just can't argue with.
No, they're the same people that they listen to respond and not to like understand, you know.
Yeah, and that comment's out there. I mean, there are
Yeah.
some people that made a whole spectacle of it on Igmer, and some were saying, "Oh, he's not really black." I really don't care. Comments still exist on YouTube. People still comment on it to this day. Some people like it, some people don't. But it's whatever.
Yep. Well, I mean, if they can't, I mean, they can't hear it from your voice. I don't know. I don't know what
Yeah.
to tell them.
Yeah. And I don't need white liberals telling me I'm a race traitor.
Right. You're only allowed to have their approved, you know, political views or and all that stuff.
Yep.
Right.
They don't see what's like, you know, what's wrong with that. But those people, it's, you know, the ends justified the means or whatever. They don't really care about what's right. Never did.
Yep.
That's racist, as Green Ghost says.
Well, we
Yeah.
covered a lot of topics today, didn't we?
Yeah. We covered almost everything, dude. It was a good little stream. Like I said, I was only expecting to go live for like 30 minutes, and now we're approaching 3 hours. So I think we're getting ready to close her down. We're gonna shut it down.
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's good.
good.
Likewise.
Yeah, I'm glad. You know, I like to maybe do this a little more regularly, but unfortunately, I mean, I'll be around, but real life has to take precedence. But I just figured it's Friday night. You know, I haven't been on in a while. Some people probably thought I'd, you know, Nemesis thought I'd just completely quit YouTube. No, once real life is taken care of, I'll be back, like the Terminator. You know, I'll
All
be
right.
back, and it'll be more regular. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I looked at the poll, and everyone wants mostly gun content and philosophy, which I'm okay to do.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's what we'll be doing.
All right. But
I
there
need to buy more guns. That's what I need.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But speaking of guns, I just have one more question for you. I've
Sure.
been doing some Google searching, but I'm not sure what the answer is. So I'm planning on building an AK pistol,
Mm-hmm.
and I want something that's going to send the noise downrange. And I was originally trying to find out what exactly do you get in order to do that for AK. There's plenty of stuff for ARs and AR pistols.
Send
But-
the noise down range.
Yes,
Have you ever shot an AK pistol?
I have not. I've only fired an AK right.
Okay, well, I'll give you my AK story real quick. So, the first thing AK product I ever got was an AK pistol, and it not only was it loud as fuck, but it shot fireballs out the end. When I went to like a range to try it out, I think I might have been with my dad, or no, it was a friend of mine. Not my. I probably did shoot it with my dad there too, but a friend of mine was like, "Dude, you got everybody looking at you," because it was so fucking loud. And yeah, it shot like flames out the end of it, and everybody's like, "Whoa, what's this guy shooting?" Because they thought I was shooting something, you know, a lot bigger, but I don't know. I mean, it just does it. You don't need anything really special to get that out of it. Just the typical. If it's a short barreled AK, it's probably going to be loud and shoot flames.
So there's nothing you can do to mitigate some of the noise.
Oh, I thought you wanted the noise. Oh, to
Oh, no.
mitigate it, then you're going to put on, there's muzzle devices that you can, but not just a suppressor. I mean, AKs aren't the best for being suppressed, although it's doable. I would say you could try some sort of flash hider. Actually, come to think of it, I'm going to recommend AK Operators Union to you again. And I think he does a video where he's testing out muzzle devices. And I mean, I don't remember which one, but he shows you which ones like put out the smallest flame and all that stuff. So I would research that. I may actually, when we jump off here, I might look that up for you and hook you up so you can maybe order you something.
Okay.
But I thought you were trying to be like that guy at the range. That's what I mistook what you said. But
Oh no,
I
I'm not
can,
trying to be that guy on the range. No, no, no.
I can definitely help you mitigate that. Then I mean, it's going to be loud. It is going to be loud, but we can maybe make it not as bad.
Yeah, my AK pistol is loud enough, so trying to avoid making the same mistakes. I mean, it's not necessarily a mistake. The thing is that this particular pistol, it has the standard bird cage on it, and that's not really the most
Okay, yeah,
desired.
that's all right. Yeah, there's probably better than the bird cage for sure.
Okay. All right, so I see this video from 9 years ago, episode 3, muzzle device test. Is this it?
Yeah, he's done more than one, but yeah, I mean, I would
Yeah.
definitely check that out, dude.
Okay,
And
definitely.
they sell some devices at their store, AK Operators Union store. They might have something there that you could use. So if you're looking for parts, they do sell them, and that's shop.akoperatorsunion local 4774.com.
Yeah.
And he's from Poland. He's a Polish immigrant who served in the military.
And that's the type of AK I'm building, is a Polish one.
Yeah, the Polish stuff is definitely good. Obviously Russian, but those dumbasses,
Yeah,
won't
thanks
let us
for-
have nice things.
Yeah, thanks, Reagan.
And yeah, and he does have some in his store, some muzzle devices. So I will actually link you that in Discord real quick while I got you here.
Awesome. Greatly appreciated.
Not a problem. Always happy to help. But I'd look around the store as well. I mean, they've always got, their prices are pretty decent. They might have stuff that you didn't know existed. So
All right, well, I'm checking it out now.
sweet. All right, gents, we're going to call it a night. Thank you all for coming. There's a bunch of you people that came, and some of you didn't chat, but I see you gave me likes. So thank you for being here. And those of you who, if you watched the stream all the way through, if you missed the live stream, but you watched it post, thank you guys as well. Y'all keep me motivated, man. I appreciate your viewership. So, guys, say your outros, or if you have one, or just say good night.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
All right, well, see you next time.
All right, guys. We'll see
And
you
Slobodo-
in. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, and Slobodo ili smrt, which means freedom or death.
Ah, I like that. All right, y'all. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace out. Yeah.